Trigger warning for depictions of kink and drug use as a form of self-harm and miscarriage.
It's called smut. Give me smut and nothing but a dirty novel I can't shut if it's uncut and unsut.
Could riff for 2 days.
So I went to Target this weekend, and I don't think I told you this.
No.
And I was really excited. I was like, I had a day, and I was like, let's go. I'm gonna meet my friend Carol, and we're gonna go to Target.
Did you skip the dollar section?
No.
Can't.
Never skip the dollar.
It's illegal.
We meet for coffee in the Starbucks. We go. We take off our coats. We put them in the cart.
Yeah.
We start walking around.
You committed to that's kind of honestly
Because
really sexy.
we were like, it's
You
a
said,
Target trip.
We're getting Starbucks and putting cart.
Yes, it was
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind
A
of trip.
whole-
I was
real
looking
Target
forward
trip.
to it. I was so excited. I came back from my boyfriend's house, got changed, literally went.
Did you go for something in particular?
Me, no. Her, yes.
Okay,
She
keep
went for a
going.
bikini.
No more.
So we go to the bikini section. We start walking around the clothing section. We hit like the sale. I did get a bra. No big deal. And then we go back to like so we're just only the clothing.
Yeah.
And it's the Target that's on Elston. So it's like pretty big. It's like a
Right.
big one. And then after we hit like the athleisure, we go to the fitting room and we park our cart. I get all my stuff out. I go, where's my purse? And my purse was not on my body. It was not on the cart.
You had a whole ass cart.
We had a whole ass
And
cart.
you didn't put it in the
but
cart.
I don't.
Oh,
I
you,
very
like, hung
rarely.
it up when you were checking for bras or
I
something.
very rarely take my purse off of my body.
Yeah.
And so I start freaking out
Because it's like a crossbody. You're
I'm-
not a big
yes.
purse.
Well,
gal.
because I'm like, okay, well, I put my coat in here. I must have put my bag in here, and then I like parked my cart not far away, but you go down the aisle.
Yeah.
It's like I bet someone took my purse out of my cart somehow, like, and I didn't see. I'm never far away. Blah,
All right,
blah.
Karen, tell me you didn't accuse somebody.
No, well, so I start panicking. Caroline's like, breathe, walk around. I retrace the whole thing. I sit, and then I come back to the fitting room. Like, it's nowhere. I cannot find it. I looked everywhere because I spent the most time in the bra section.
Right.
I like scoured that area. Nothing. And I sit down and I'm panicking, and the attendant girl's like, I'll get the manager, you go to this, like, to the guest services, because if someone returned it, go there. So we have this whole plan. I am starting to like cry because I have never lost a purse in my entire life, and I have never, knock on wood, been robbed. I have never, like,
It's a lot of work.
You know,
I've been both.
And luckily my phone was in my butt pocket, so it was just
that's
my
nice.
wallet and my keys, but I was still just like,
Yeah, of course.
my ID, all
Yeah,
of my
it
cards.
sucks.
And so I'm like starting to cry, and because that's just what happens, and it's a response. And Caroline's like, breathe, and I'm just like hyperventilating. This manager's like, can you lock all your cards right now? I go, I didn't even think of that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Grace on Elston, thank you so much. And I go, nothing has been
We
like
need to Yelp review
charged.
Grace on Elston.
I
tonight.
go, I think someone took it out. She goes, make sure there's no charges. So I go do that. They go, okay, what time? They immediately, like, they bring 2 security guards. They go, what time did you get here? And tell us the exact route. And I go, okay. So I tell them everything that happened. I got here at this time. We did here.
Oh my God, are they going to watch you set it down?
So
I'm upset.
they go,
That's so embarrassing.
So they go, it's going to take some time. We're going to like watch. We're going to find you.
I'm
I
embarrassed.
go, okay. We go, I'm okay now. I'm
Okay.
fine. And so it's okay. It turns out okay. And so I'm sitting there. I'm like, I can't stop crying.
Yeah, you're in a
it's
different
not like
frame of
sobbing,
mind.
but
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
like,
freaking
all
out.
of my stuff. And you know, Carol, bless her, one of my BFFs, she's like, everything can be replaced. I go, I know, but it's dumb when it's like, you know, I have stickers for the podcast in there. I have a keychain that I got when I was 16, and it's been in my keys.
Treasures in my bag.
It's
that
just
I
like
keep
that
close
and
to me.
on top of, and then I start thinking, like, you know, I made this whole plan to like pay off my credit cards to do that. You know, I was just like,
Well,
this
now
is
you
gonna-
don't got it. You could say it's all fraudulent.
I was like, this is gonna fuck up everything. And they finally come back maybe like 15-ish minutes later. Caroline's like, do you want coffee? I go, I don't think I need any more caffeine. I'm just like shaking. They go, okay, we found you. We see you have the purse at this point, and then we lose you. The camera loses you from athletic wear to bikinis again, because I had to. And so this whole part, and you had the purse over here, and you didn't have the purse. I go, oh my God, I know what happened. I get up. And I start running. Grace, again, love you, Grace. The manager goes, I will come with you. And I go, okay, I think I know what happened.
And then you just took off like fucking Michael Bolton.
There was an area. Everyone in this Target has been watching me for 15 minutes run. Because I went to the bathroom at one point. Because I'm just checking everywhere I can think of.
Yeah.
I run to the coat section.
And
I go, I'm pretty sure I took it off for a second to like put
Try
my
a
coat
coat
on.
on,
Right.
yeah.
But the thing is, I would have either would have put it on the ground, or I would have done this, and there's no purse on the ground. I'm like, oh my God, I think someone either took it. Like I must be a fucking idiot. I did this. It is, we are scouring the coats. She goes, girl, and then dives. It is between coats. Somebody had hung up coats in between. So my purse was hanging on like the hook thing in between them. And we both went, ah! And we scream in this Target. I start laughing.
Tell me you embraced.
Oh, 100%. I go, can I hug you? And I hug her. We are laughing. Aww. She's like, oh my. And I go, I'm so sorry. She goes, no, that's weird. I go, thank you. And I know she thinks I'm insane, but I'm like.
She's probably like, that's the most excitement I've had at work in 10 fucking years.
That's not some belligerent asshole off the street.
Yeah, she's like I just solved a fucking crime.
And plus, she was so sweet. I just kept being like, I feel embarrassed. I feel so bad. She goes, no, like that's weird. Like that was valid, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you wouldn't think to look between
the two coats.
No.
And then she's like, and that's why I don't have a purse. I only have fanny packs and I only have a wallet. And I was like, love you. Thank you so much, Grace.
Yeah.
I walk back to Starbucks. Caroline goes, did you get it? And I hold up, I go, yes. And then we proceeded to go shopping in Target. We did not leave. We went shopping.
Well,
and
now
I was
you gotta
like,
buy stuff from Grace's store.
Yeah, but
so
and then I was
stressed.
like, we have to leave. Like once we buy, we have to leave immediately. Like we cannot loiter because I'm never coming back to this Target again. But that happened, and it was like Sunday, and I got home and I was just like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
I'm so fucking tired now because I just
emotionally hungover.
I was emotionally hungover.
Yeah.
So that was my story.
It's exhausting.
That I didn't tell.
Amazing story.
I only told one person. I know because I was waiting just to tell you on the podcast. But yeah.
Break the news.
Yeah.
You heard it here a second, friends.
That was
Grace on Elston.
Thank you,
Good
Grace.
for you,
Five
Grace.
stars.
Now I'm worried that her name isn't Grace. I'm like 99% sure it's Grace, though.
We'll look on Yelp later. I really do want a happy Yelp review.
I actually told her, I was like, if you need me to Yelp or leave a comment or anything, I will, because
is there a way for me to get you a gift card of any kind?
Yeah, they were so helpful. And the fact, I was like, I'm sorry. She goes, no, this is why, like, we have cameras, we do this. Like, I'm really glad that no one stole this because it was hanging, albeit in between coats, but it was just hanging in the store.
Right.
Nothing had been taken, nothing had been moved. I did later try to buy something at Target and all my cards were still locked. I completely forgot about that. So I stood at the self-checkout being like,
that's what you get for being responsible and locking them cards right away.
So
that's really funny. I was actually just thinking that happened to me. Because I'm constantly locking my cards because I know that I put it in a coat pocket or whatever, that I'm like, I know for a fact, like I'll look at my charges and be like, oh no, I definitely just went on a wander and grabbed a Lucy. So it's in a coat, it's in a hoodie.
Yeah.
It's typically in a hoodie that was in a coat. And so
I will say we went to the fitting room and my friend tried on the bikini and all this, and I'm still a little shaky and I was just like that. And she's like, do you need anything? Can we go to the book section?
Yep.
She goes, of course.
Tried and true.
And I went to the book section. She goes, are you calling down? I go, I am.
There's something comforting because there's never anyone in the book section, especially nowadays. There is not a single, because it's got the DVDs, the books, the magazines.
At a Target,
It's very peaceful there. It's nice.
I will say Target book sections, I don't shop. Like I would never buy a Target book.
I try not to buy. I do take pictures of the books though.
Yeah.
It's a nice browse.
Buy them later or like get them from the library.
I'll sell my fucking book at Target. I haven't written one yet, but Target sponsor me.
I will still, for nostalgia, go to my hometown Meijer when I'm home.
They have a book section.
They have a tiny book section that is mostly about Jesus, but I will still go because that is that was the place that I could buy a book when I was a kid. I mean, and I will just go and just have a wander.
Speaking of books, welcome to
Femmes Reading Filth.
Ooh, it was tight.
Yeah, it was.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Every time I get little chills.
You've been getting some good harmonies your season.
You're inspiring us.
I feel like because I know at this point that Emily's going to go high, so I just stay low and steady.
I've been trying to go, my like natural register.
You naturally just go meh, and I naturally go low. So
but funnily enough, I think our normal speaking voices, I'm this kind of low. I'm a very low sultry voice.
Sure.
And your voice, your talking voice is higher than my voice.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess
think it is.
I feel like my
not you going to respond like a fucking helium balloon.
But when I get excited or show emotion, my voice gets higher, and I think when you do, your voice gets lower.
Yes,
and
probably.
that's why
that is really true.
That's why our podcast works so well.
Honestly, I think it doesn't hurt. It gives the listener something dynamic to hear.
But can the listeners tell you apart if they don't know you beforehand? Doubt it.
Well, by the way, I'm Emily.
I'm Jess.
And I'm Julie.
And we have seducing the enemy as a trope.
I call it sex with a rival.
I call it fucking your boss.
Fucking your boss. Yeah. So there's no like research because I didn't do research. But basically we kind of do, I mean, it is a trope, but it's not something with its own name. So let's go again. Like, what do you think the trope is that you assigned us?
So technically, I would say, so it's not enemies to lovers, but I'm getting more of a, this is me trying to do like a grift. Like it's very Ocean's 11 in my mind. Like I'm trying to get you to either turn to be more like into me and or this is just somebody I had beef with and I'm going to try and fuck you to fuck you. You know what I mean? Like in some way to get some kind of edge or sense of control. Doesn't have to necessarily be like Ocean's 11 type grift. I've just been watching a lot of Netflix.
I love all the Ocean's movies, but
I've never seen one, but I know the premise.
Yeah. How I interpreted it, and I don't know if I can't speak for Jess as well, but it was, I am going to do a plan, and that involves seducing someone or showing someone that I am like sleeping with them, or like there is a sexual element in there, but it is part of a bigger plan, and it's with someone that you not usually are allied with, or it is in service of fucking over like your enemy.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So that's
I understand
how I
you
saw
got
that.
there. I did a totally different.
Okay.
I went more the fucking with somebody by fucking them route. So I think that's why I said more seducing the enemy than rivals, because I didn't go rival at all.
Can I tell you that's kind of my favorite? Y'all get real weird about being like, I need to be on the niche. And I'm like, I like that the niche is broad.
So we have two very different
topics.
There's still a like, in my story, there's still an element of like, I'm fucking someone over.
Yeah. Mine has an I'm fucking someone over, but mine is much more...
Fucked.
Either way, someone's getting fucked.
For sure. But mine is much more, I can throw this person off their game with my sexiness, with my sexuality, and so I'm going to do that because I want to throw them off their game. That was kind of what I read in the thing. I don't know what you read.
I read it as like, I am trying to make someone, like, this is my enemy, and I either want something from them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to like seduce them and sleep with them, or like this person is my enemy, therefore I will seduce and sleep with their enemy to get back at them.
So I will say that is where I started. Okay. I could not find anything, and so I landed with
that's
the
a
more
big thing in books.
It is, but there was not a tag for it.
Yes,
and there was nothing that I found that was different enough from what I've already done that it felt fun to me. But then I found one that was like a guy just fucking with somebody, and I was like, this is more fun, I'm enjoying this, and I think it fits what Julie was looking for. So that's what I went with.
I like an umbrella topic because I hear what you're saying, and I love semantics. So get me down and dirty on a loophole. Find me, because I can get behind it.
Well, and then I think I had clarified it in the last episode, but I think I just was confused the whole time. So either way, I really liked my book.
You just overthink it, I think, is the thing.
100%.
We want to do a good job. Do you want to go first?
I'm going first this week.
Go
I love
for
that.
it.
We're jumping right in.
We're jumping in, man.
Because you guys are so
no research,
like crazy about that story I just told. Okay.
It was a good story.
Thank you. It was a story of Emily losing her mind. Okay, so as we determined, I followed a different path with my theme. But you know what's funny too? I picked this book and I started reading it, and I feel like I usually say like, I don't read a lot of like contemporary romance, like rom-com stuff. But every time I do, I really like it.
It's fun.
But like, I think in the year that I only read romance books, I just hardcore did like dark romance, bully romance, mafia. I have a cup that says mafia romance lover on it.
Yeah.
Like I love a good dark romance story.
Wait.
I didn't. Oh, someone bought it for me.
But it's that niche of I didn't realize there were that many, because I was going to say I love a good rom-com moment. I like the cheesy, wholesome.
It's just never what I gravitate towards.
So we're
always,
in
Okay.
But yeah, there's mafia, there's sports, there's...
Well, I've seen the sports.
We still haven't done a mafia episode.
No, we haven't.
Have you done sporty ones?
We did a sports
We did
episode.
a sports, but there are so many versions. So I specifically did a hockey one, and you did a soccer one.
Which are very different, genuinely, like different types of romance books that have their own set of tropes and their own set of...
A baseball romance is different than a football romance.
Well, yeah, you're getting totally different bros.
Yep. And they adapt to it.
But all that to say, I ended up, this is basically a contemporary romance, and I loved it. And so it's called X Games, EX Games.
Nice.
It's by Stella Rhys.
Nice.
Rhys. Rhys?
I would say Rhys.
I would say Rhys too.
Yeah.
It's 202 pages, and it came out November 16th, 2016. So it's a couple years old.
Okay.
So it's been 9 weeks since Aaron left Taylor.
That dirtbag.
Yes. And it came out of nowhere. They were fiancéed, and Aaron left her. It was premeditated. She found out. Taylor's the girl. Aaron is the boy.
Got it.
She found out that...
Wouldn't have known that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I said, I was like, oh, those are both kind of neutral names.
Yeah.
He had given his 2 weeks at work, and he had a goodbye party, and he had said nothing to Taylor. He left just with the, she had to cancel all the wedding plans.
How long were they?
3 years. Oh. 3 years. And they were fianced.
Why? Why propose?
I know. And she had to cancel the stuff, pay all the deposits. That he left her with the $4,000 studio that he insisted they live in.
Boo.
Wait, a $4,000 studio
in New York City. I bet it's in ritzy Manhattan.
Makes more sense,
Yeah.
but also fuck you.
Correct.
No.
And he got out of their lease. She had no idea,
Stop.
and they were engaged.
It's
and I wrote,
site. It's on site with Aaron.
Yeah.
and I wrote, what a piece of shit.
I'm a fighter.
And yeah, she is an event planner. She had to get a second job to just start trying to pay the rent, and she can't make the bills, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. So it's been 2 months. She's just kind of like sitting there in her apartment, like on her couch, because she refuses to sleep in the bed because
I get that.
she just woke up the next morning. Also, they say studio, but it sounds like the bed, maybe it's like a really big studio where there's like an alcove where the bed is.
I was
could
going to
be.
say, also,
Yeah.
as a person who's lived in a studio, I pretend like it's a bedroom.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, the kitchen is
Because
separate.
they have
or
a
like
bed and a couch in there.
You
so
can put a couch.
I mean, think of
Couch at the
you've been
edge
to
of the
Shay's
bed.
apartment. That's a studio.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she's just sitting there. She's sitting there in her underwear. She's wearing her day of the week underwear. It says Wednesday. It is a Sunday though.
You know what's so
scandalous.
dark about this timeline real quick? I just need to... The darkest timeline is where, like, this man left this woman with a 4,000... We're like, yeah, that's believable. But what's not believable is that the studio apartment might have space for a cat.
How sad
We
is
live
that?
in the darkest timeline.
God, you're right.
That's what life is.
That hurts. That hurts in a really specific way.
As I was saying before, it's Sunday. She's wearing her Wednesday, a day of the week underwear. She's in a t-shirt. She's just watching shitty reality
So that
TV.
means nothing. Oh, it means she hasn't changed them since
And
Wednesday. She's
or
wearing
she
them
just
on time.
or she just grabbed him, you know.
Yeah, that's
But-
how I would do it.
And that's important because she gets a knock at the door. And it's Mason, who is Aaron's older brother. And he goes, can you open the door? I can hear your shitty reality TV. I got to talk to you about something. And she's like, and she's just kind of standing there like, I don't know what to do. And then finally he's like, okay, I'm going to come in. And he just comes in and she's like, wait. Oh, and she's just standing there in her underwear. Yeah. And she's like, wait, don't come in. And, you know, she kind of runs around trying to put pants on. He's like, this is sad. What the fuck is going on? And he sees that she has a pink slip that's taped to the front of her door. And it's very clear that she cannot afford the studio and she's having money problems. So he is now aware of that. They kind of check each other out in this moment because obviously she's a very pretty girl. She's tall, blonde. She has long legs. Like she's, I don't know, fit or whatever. He usually is a,
The quintessential.
he's a businessman. And
She must be beautiful. She's tall and blonde.
I know, which makes
Can't have
me
an ugly
a
face.
troll.
Yeah, those are the rules.
Those are the
There's
rules.
never been a pretty brunette that's short. Never.
Correct.
Not once.
Correct.
Impossible.
Fuck you, Penelope Cruz.
Never seen it.
So, and he's usually in a suit, but he is currently wearing like the gray jogger sweatpants and a white t-shirt because he's been out jogging apparently. And she can see the outline of his dick and she's like, damn, that looks good. But also, I hate this guy because then we learn that she has never been a fan of Mason. In the 3 years she dated and lived with Aaron, he was constantly kind of comparing himself to his older brother. He always wanted to like be better than him. And he would tell Taylor, all these like not horror stories, but like stories about him being a womanizer and him being kind of a shitty person to like, and him just being very cold and uncaring. So that is the picture that is painted for her. So
she's a fuckboy brother.
Yes. So she's immediately like, ugh, this guy.
Oh, see, I would have immediately wanted to sit on his face.
And there's another reason too, but we don't find that out until later.
Got it. Do they bury the lead though? Are
they bury the lead?
Okay, got it.
And so they kind of check each other out, and then they kind of snipe at each other a bit. She's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, blah blah blah." He goes, "I didn't want to have to show you this, but you need to know." And he pulls out a wedding invitation. And Aaron is getting married to Ava, who is Mason's ex.
Who the fuck is Ava?
Yes. Ava was Mason's ex of 6 months. It was one of his longest girlfriends.
Oh, that's way more fun to fuck it's real fun when you can get with the new part. You know what I mean? Like, and the brother is a whole nother dynamic, but this is already great for me. Because I do love the idea of being like, hey, we do have a similar taste. You know what I mean? Like, you want to fuck my ex, man? I'm going to fuck this. And so, you know, there's something so cathartic
Ava is
that.
like tall, Ava's like a tall, like model socialite. She comes from like a big tech family, so she has a lot of money. When they broke up, her and her like rich friends got drunk and like broke into his offices and drew penises all over the walls, and
which will catch any man. I don't know if you've ever wanted to fuck somebody, you should vandalize their stuff and draw.
Yeah,
dicks
you want them back?
Yeah.
Draw dicks all over the things.
It works. It's a weird spell. It works 100% of the time. I highly recommend it to all your listeners.
It did not work this time and they caught it on camera, and then that was leaked to the press. But they did, like everything was cleaned up by the next day, and he was just like, that was childish and whatever. But have you guys ever done anything like that to an ex? Because I
did.
Fuck with their stuff? No, I did write somebody's number on the wall of Cheesy's when it was like 3 a.m. and
I was there.
You were there.
I've done creepy, like not creepy at the time, but creepy now. Like ex-lover things, trying to get them back. Like I did the whole like stereo outside the window type nonsense.
I mean, this wasn't to get
too much.
This wasn't to get them back. This was because I was drunk and angry.
I need to listen to boundaries.
I said, blank is an asshole. You should text him that. Here's his number. And I wrote it really big on Cheesy's.
I really want to know if he got text.
He did, because then he texted me being like, I'm being harassed and blah, blah, blah. And also, like, I have a friend who's a cop and da, 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 da. And then I felt bad because, like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to get text.
Cheesy's walls, for all the listeners who don't live in Chicago.
Oh, sorry.
Cheesy's has bathrooms, and they're single stalls. It's just a door that you go in and you lock it. And the whole wall is chalkboard.
Yeah, and there's chalk on the back of the toilet.
So
it
is full of chalk drawings. So if anything, it was up for like a night, and then they cleaned it off, and he can get over it.
Yeah, it was like 1, 3 a.m., something like that. It was really late, and then I ended up calling Cheesy the next day, and I said, "Hey, I wrote something on the wall."
That's how he knew. Bitch,
no. This was he texted me, and then afterwards,
it's like you left a paper trail.
he either texted me or he texted like Sean. He texted someone, and that's how I found out that he was getting texts, and I just felt bad because I'm like, I don't know if I was in that position,
because you're a fundamentally nice person.
Because I'm too nice of a person, and I called Cheesy's and I go, I wrote something on the wall.
On your chalkboard
wall.
The guilt is eating me alive.
And I feel like I need to take it down. And they go, oh, don't worry. We erase those like every night. And I go,
they erase them at the end of the night, and they close at like 4 a.m. So that was on that wall for like an hour and
apparently it was like one of the cooks that was like, I heard you're an asshole.
I love that.
Yeah. So, that's an ally right there.
That's an ally. Okay, sorry. Back to the story.
Yes.
So swimsuit model Ava is now getting married to Aaron, and Taylor is just like, she starts crying. She's like, this came out of nowhere. I didn't even know things were bad. Like, da 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 da.
They don't gotta be bad for a man to be.
Yeah, and now she's like mortified that she's crying in front of Mason of all people. And he's kind of just staying there like, I have something to ask if you calm down. And she's like,
he's like, I've already processed all this.
Yeah, yes.
And he wants her to come with him to the wedding as his date.
Yeah, because he's gotta go.
Love that.
And she's like, fuck you, no. And he goes, well, I will pay all of your debts if you go.
Hell yes.
And she's like, no.
You got that guap?
And she says no. She's like, why would you even want me to come? She's like, well, I want you to break up this wedding. Like, I don't want this wedding to happen. Da, da, da. And she goes, oh, do you think I want him back? Like, no. He left me. Like, I'm just sad because...
I'm trying to make a scene.
Because, I mean, it hurts. This all hurts, but I don't want him back. Like, no.
There would be something really petty, though, about being the plus one to the fuck.
He left her and he also cheated on her for a long time.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Correct. Yeah. And so she's like, no, I don't want to go back to that asshole.
You should be embarrassed.
So she's like, please leave. He goes, okay, sure. The next night, she's at her second job, which is basically a knockoff Hooters. And
what's it called?
I didn't write it down. I think it's called like Freddie McGinty's. I swear to God.
It's not something clever.
No, it's like an Irishy like thing.
Fair.
If it had been called Cooters, I would have been.
Yeah, or something. Anything.
Hooters and Cooters. I feel like it's Freddie McGinty's for some reason, but I don't know if that's the right word.
It's Freddie McGinty's from now on. Freddie McGinty's. Continue.
By day, she is an event planner for a restaurant group, basically.
By night, she is super.
She works at Cooters, and
she works at Cooters,
and she's just trying to make ends meet. And everyone there like hates her because now there's another girl on the staff, and now they have to split the tip pool. She's there, she's working, and this gorgeous guy comes in, and this one girl's like, I have him for my table, and then she comes back, she goes, oh, he wants you, and she's talking to Taylor, and it turns out Mason is sitting there, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? He's like, well, you know,
how could you show up at my respectable Cooters job?
He clarifies that Mason clarifies that Taylor does not have to get back together with Aaron because, you know, as much as he hates him, because they just don't like each other, Mason and Aaron. They're like very... Like, Mason likes him, but Aaron, like, hates him for some reason. So he's like, Aaron is still my brother, and I really just don't want him to make this mistake. I think if he marries Ava, like, it's just over. Like, this relationship with this tether of a relationship we have is never going to be the same, blah, blah, blah. And I just want your help. And he also offers to help her with her day job because he works at a hotel, like a huge hotel group, I think.
Oh, so he can like refer people to her for event planning at the hotel and stuff.
Basically, the wedding is in St. Lucia, and he said he will help her get the account in St. Lucia. Like, he'll hook that up. It's a multi-million-dollar account, basically. And he's like, if you do this, it goes my date, I'll make this happen for you because then they'll love you, and then you can get like 2 weeks off to go to St. Lucia with me.
Damn.
And
he's got it all figured out.
Yes. He like comes at her and she's like,
he's like, oh, you don't want to take my money? You can
I'll make it better.
Own.
Yeah. I'll make it better.
Yeah, you're going to be a principled feminist. I got you.
So he's still going to like pay off her debts and stuff.
I need to clarify. When I said my respectable job, Cooters, I didn't mean it wasn't a respectable job. I meant it's a public place. Like, he should have been showing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He wears her down and she says yes. And she's like, I'm going to quit right now because these bitches at this Cooters, this Freddie McGinty Cooters, is not working. And so she like throws down her apron and she's like, make me look good. And he's like, okay. And then he stands up and he like puts his arm through hers. And she's like, and they like walk out together. And all the girls are like,
a moment, a rom-com moment.
Freddie McCooters will never be the same.
And so she also is like, listen, if I'm going, I'm not going to go as like one of your like fuck buddy hookups. Like, we are going as boyfriend girlfriend, and you have to make an effort to like act like a boyfriend to me. Like, not actually, but like that's the version of the story she wants.
To me, that's unhinged though, because if you're going in then that looks like you were cheating with the brother. I don't like that.
I mean, he's already getting married to someone, and it's been 2 months at this point, so it could have been a like,
gotcha,
they're consoling. So, but to what she knows, all he's ever done has been like fucking leave kind of guy. So she's like, no, we are going to be like in a relationship if this is the story. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
So they meet the next day at his office to discuss what would make Aaron mad. And Mason assumes it was something like sexual. He was like, well, you seem really like, kind of, no offense, you seem uptight and you seem a little prude. So like, were you not putting out? Were you not doing this?
Fuck off, Mason.
And she's like, actually, no, we had sex like 3 times a week.
Respectable.
Like, you know, we were doing this. She's naming all this stuff.
Also not a requirement for a relationship.
Yes, correct.
Communication is the requirement. If you
we
need
love
to
good
fuck
communication
to stay satisfied, that should be a conversation.
Is key. He's like, something like, Aaron's an asshole. He's
right.
like, clearly Aaron's an asshole. What in his mind were you not doing? So like, I want to stress that he was not being like this. And she's like, actually, no, it was the fact that I don't like to be paraded around. Like, he was always trying to, and she's saying this to like Mason. She's like, he was always trying to compete with you. He wanted to do better than you. And he wanted me to like dress up, and he wanted to like have me as arm candy sometimes. And I don't want that. That's not who I am. And so, he's like, okay, so kind of like a PDA thing. Like, to be very touchy lovey in public, and also like adore each other and kind of dress up. And she's like, oh yeah, I guess that would make him mad if I did that with you. And so he's like, okay, that's what we'll do. We're going to the mall. And she's like, huh? And so they meet. The plan is to meet at or what's the nice Bergdorf Goodman's, something like that.
Yeah,
I'm assuming
J.C. Penney's, Belk.
Yes.
Yeah, Sears for Sears.
Sure.
And so they go, and the next day, he's late, but the personal shopper's like, oh, Mr. What's his last name? Leo. Mason Leo and Aaron Leo. He goes, Mr. Leo has pulled a bunch of shit for you.
This, I'm not gonna lie,
Oh yeah, what do you think of the names, Jess?
I fucking hate Leo as a last name.
Well, I'm hearing this story from secondhand, so I'm not going to shit talk the author. Obviously, we love her.
We never try to shit talk the author.
I would never. That's not what I'm doing. But what I am going to say is, it is giving. I put a bunch of things in a hat and said, I'm gonna make all this make sense. And you're doing a good. That's a whole different writing experience.
Names are kind of hard sometimes.
I do not think it's bad. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying, it is giving like, it's giving like, I'll give you the account and I'll get like St. Lucia. Like it's giving these tropes in a good way.
Is their dad's name Leo?
I hope so. We never learned the dad's name.
If it's not Leo,
I know the mom's name is Clara Leo.
Clara Leo. That rolls off the tongue in a really lovely way.
Yeah, Leo.
You know what? Good job, Stella. Clara Leo.
Clara Leo is beautiful.
Anyways. And so the personal shopper's like, Mr. Leo pulled a bunch of dresses for you. Like, why don't you go try them on while we wait for him? Blah, blah. She's like, okay, cool. She's trying this stuff on, and everything is like looking good, but they're like day dresses. Like, nothing is like popping. And she finally puts on this one dress. It's like a nude kind of shorter, tighter thing, but it's like still day appropriate. But she's like, this is the one. I look amazing. Oh my God. She cannot zip it. She goes out of her dressing room. And who does she meet but fucking Whitney?
Okay.
And she turns out to be in the next room. This bitch came between her and Aaron a while ago. She was always flirting with him, and I guess at one point he was almost tempted. It was a whole thing.
Fucking Whitney.
And Whitney.
Actually,
no, fucking Whitney's a bitch.
Okay.
Listen, hold on, wait for the rest of it.
Got it.
And she was invited to the wedding, and she is just so mean to her. She's like, "Oh, I heard you and Aaron broke up, but." You were kind of punching above the belt with that one, so like she's that girl,
Got it. I was about to be like, oh well, if Aaron's the one that cheated, fuck Aaron.
Yeah,
but
honestly,
no,
the
Whitney
trash
sounds
takes itself out.
Yeah, but Whitney sounds like a shithead.
Yeah, and she's like, I was invited to the wedding. I guess he found someone like more suited to him, and like it's just she keeps saying all this. It's just so mean. It's like really mean, and Taylor's kind of like taking it. Like she's like. Yeah, yep, like sure, whatever, blah, blah, and she's kind of like ignoring it. And then finally at that point she goes back into her room. She's like, ugh, how am I can't find this girl to zip up this dress, like Whitney's being a bitch, blah blah. And all of a sudden she hears Whitney's voice be like, oh my God, Mason. And so Mason comes and Whitney is basically hitting on him, and he's just like. And then Taylor, still in the room, gets a text from him being like, please save me. This girl is like all over me and I cannot do this. And so she comes out of the dressing room. She's like, hey, babe. And he's like, oh my God. He eye fucks her in this dress. She's like, I need help zipping this up. And there's like a very sexual tension-y moment where he he only has eyes for Taylor and he zips up the dress and it's like very hot for a second. And Whitney is just like, well, I'm going to go try on more dresses and leaves.
Good.
And so they're like, haha.
We just typecast Emily as a Whitney.
No,
that was incredible.
It sat really well in your face.
If anything, I am always going to be the personal shopper at Bergdorf.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. And so they zip up the dress and they're like, let's talk more about the days leading up to St. Lucia where we're going to pretend to be more boyfriend, girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. The next Monday, she meets up with Sophia, who is her best friend / also the cousin of Aaron and Mason. Okay. And she's been a big help during the whole 2 months. She had no idea about the whole Aaron thing, but her family is like, you have to go to this wedding. And so she's like, they're kind of talking about it. And instead of telling her the truth, she's like, oh, Mason and I are going together to the wedding. And Sophia's like, I always thought you guys would make a good couple. you guys just have a very similar vibe, and I'm really excited about this.
Cool. And he's an asshole. You're an asshole. It's perfect.
And so she's like, that's kind of weird. I don't see it, but it's, and then she's like, oh shit, I have to pretend. Yeah, it's great, blah, blah, blah. So then she goes to work. We meet Lori, her boss, and Lori immediately knows. As soon as she tells her, she's like, no, you're not dating Mason. You hate Mason. And she sees through it, and Taylor tells Lori the whole scheme, and she's like, well, good. Aaron sucks. This will be good, but like, fuck Mason, but also like, fuck Aaron. Like, I hope you have a great fomance, and like, tell me all the details. Great. And she's like, we love a fun boss moment. We love a fun boss moment. And so at least she has someone to confide in when all of this, inevitably she needs to talk to someone. Later that week, there is the opening night of a restaurant. Mason's best friend Noah is like the head chef, and it's like gonna be the hottest restaurant in New York City.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in New York City.
In New York City. Wow. And so they're like, okay, this is gonna be our like soft launch as a couple. Let's do this. And she's very nervous. She's like, oh my God, this is the first time I'm really going to be out like with people in 2 months. Like, I've really just been working and going home. He's very nice to her. He's holding her hand, and people keep asking her about the wedding because they keep running into people that Aaron would know. And she's grinning and bearing it, and Mason is being amazing, and he's helping her. And she's like, okay, maybe I can do this.
Well, does he know all these people?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like their circle is going to be there. Yeah.
This is a close family.
They sit at this big table with all these people, but it's kind of like they keep having their own secluded conversation. And she reveals to Mason that she's heard all of these bad things about him, because he was like, why do you not like me? And she's like,
your brother talks shit, bro.
And she goes, well, I heard this, and this. She kind of comes up with these instances. He goes, okay, well, actually none of those are true. Like, this is what happened. This is what happened. Blah. And he has an answer for everything. And she's like, oh,
interesting.
I'm so sorry. And he's like, no, I'm sorry that you thought that. Like, and I'm sorry that I came.
That Aaron was a piece of shit the whole
Aaron might have been a piece of shit.
Wait a minute. If you cheat on a fiance, there's no way you'd be a garbage person anywhere else in your life.
Piece of shit. Piece of shit. So they are flirting, and they're having very good banter, and everyone is watching them because she's having a good time, and she laughs really loud, and it kind of draws everyone's attention. And he's like, I think we should try and like kiss maybe, or like we have to do something. Like, she's like, I don't know if I'm ready to like kiss yet, but she does this kind of thing where she ends up kind of like touching his chest and like leaning in and like giggling, and basically he gets a boner. And she is, well, it's very hard not to notice because he's wearing like this like kind of tight sweater, these like tighter jeans, and he's looking very good.
And he got that big dick.
And he's got a big dick, and it is just imprinting much like Jacob on Renesmee.
I'm upset. I'm upset.
Fuck off.
I'm upset. Boo. Piece of shit. Piece of shit.
And he gets all hot and bothered, and then she gets all hot and bothered, and she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and just have a second. So she goes, and as she's leaving the bathroom, she is cornered by Trip and Trevor. They are Aaron's friends.
Stop.
And they are twins. And
it's giving Crab and Goyle. It's giving big bullies.
And she's never really liked them. They always kind of make lewd comments. And this time is not any different. They make a lewd comment about how she's fucking her way around Aaron's friends and family.
Imagine naming your kid Trip and Trevor and not thinking they would be sociopaths.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sorry to any Trips and Trevors out there, but it's the combination of you both.
Yeah.
Just stop hanging out
together. If you're a Trevor and you know a Trip, distance.
You gotta distance. Or go by nicknames while you're hanging.
Yes.
You know, and that's on God.
They basically are like more crass. They're like, oh, are we next in line? Blah, blah, blah. And she kind of holds her own, but it's just still really upsetting.
It's just gross.
And as she starts walking back to the table, Mason immediately sees that something's wrong. He stands up. He like walks to her and he's like, are you okay? What's going on? And she kind of said, she's like, Trip and Trevor kind of like said this shit. And he's immediately like, fuck that. He like a Terminator scans the room for them, sees them. They see Mason looking at him. They're like, and they immediately leave the restaurant.
Big fan of that.
Mason walks after them, and Taylor's like, what do I do? And she's like, well, fuck. And so she goes after them as well. It's freezing outside. She runs like down the street basically and sees I think it's Trevor got into a cab, but Tripp did not. And Mason has now pinned Tripp against the wall and is like, apologize to my girlfriend.
That's kind of hot.
That is kind of hot.
Incredibly hot. Oh, and I wrote that. Mason hears and threatens Tripp against a wall, and it's hot. And then she gets sad.
Very hot, but to be fair, I don't care how sexy my partner's being and who he's battling like a Ninja Turtle. I'm putting on my coat in New York City winter.
I know, right? Well, she thought it was going to be like a second.
Yeah,
but
okay.
then she kind of realized, she's like, I'm just kind of sad because everyone's just going to keep thinking this, that I'm like a whore. Like, everyone is just going to think this, like, no matter how lovey-dovey we play, this isn't going to look well for me. And this makes me really sad. And he's like, I will make it up to you. I don't know how, but I'm going to make it up to you and I'm going to make this better. And she's like,
Mason.
Okay. And so they go into the restaurant. They have a good rest of the night. The next day, she gets a courier at her apartment.
She gets a career.
A courier. And he's like, here's a delivery for you. And
I heard a career and
Me
I was
too.
like, a career?
Courier.
Courier.
A messenger.
I wish it came like that.
Our Midwestern mouths cannot
Courier.
say the R in the middle of courier. It all sits in the back of the mouth.
Our Midwestern mouths.
Courier.
Courier, I hardly know her.
Courier.
I hardly know it. And she opens, it's like a little box and he got her jewelry and sends a note saying, wear this tonight. And it's this gorgeous diamond pendant on like a gold chain. It's like a Y chain, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
And she immediately puts it on. She's like, no, because she's wearing her pajamas. She like gets naked and puts it on. She's like, this is amazing. And then she immediately calls Sophia and she's like, I don't know what I'm doing tonight, but apparently I have to wear this. And she like takes a picture of the necklace. And Sophia's like, bitch, I'm coming over. We're going to a party. And they go to this party at Noah's, who is the best friend chef guy. And he has this like, apparently like this big penthouse in Soho or whatever. So they go and she looks hot and he sees her across the room again and he like immediately comes up and he's like, I'm letting you know that I'm incredibly attracted to you right now.
Amazing.
And like and I've always been and blah blah. And tonight you look amazing and da 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 da. And then they're having a good moment and then who is there? Fucking Whitney. Fucking Whitney's there.
Fucking Whitney.
And she starts flirting very hard with like Mason. So Taylor and Mason start flirting hard and it gets very hot and heavy. They end up like sitting on a couch, kind of smushed together, and she feels him starting to grow hard. And she's like, I don't know how to like feel about this because you're gorgeous, but I used to hate you and I used to be in love with your brother.
A lot has happened very quickly.
A lot has happened very quickly.
That's a
so
lot.
he tells her straight that he wants her, and she gets all nervous and she goes to the bathroom again. And
Can I just say I'm a big fan of Mason so far, and also
Yeah.
how direct he is.
Me too.
I like a man who's just like, hey,
Got a plan.
yep,
Hey, just so you
I want
know,
to let you know
I wanna
I'm
find this.
into you.
We're going to dinner.
Yep.
yes, I
Hey,
love that.
Listen, I've
I
already
love
covered
that.
it. Like, and you're like, hold on, that one. No, I got it.
Yep.
That's the fucking hottest.
I love a man who
God,
is
we live
direct
in a
with
bad
me.
timeline. We live in a bad
Let
timeline.
me tell you.
I like a man who's direct with me and also makes the plans for once.
So she goes to the bathroom, and that's where she runs into fucking Whitney. And Whitney says some shit, and she, just like, that's cute that you think that he's gonna want to keep you after you guys fuck and blah blah. It's all this shit, and she proceeds to like be like, well, you know what? I'm at a party. Fuck this. I'm gonna get drunk. And she doesn't drink a lot, but tonight she decided she's gonna get drunk.
Yep.
And then Mason has to take care of her. She gets way too drunk. She jumps. Oh, there's a pool in this penthouse. She jumps into the pool with Sophia. They're having a good time.
Great.
Mason hauls her out and is like,
that.
what the fuck? You told me you don't drink. What's going on?
She's been through enough. She deserves to jump in a pool in a past.
Yes. And
Yeah.
he's like, what the fuck did I do to you? Because you are still so angry at me.
Who
and
are you?
You're irrational and you're hard to please right now. And he says this. And she proceeds to tell him about a moment 2 years ago when he told Aaron to put himself out of his misery. And the next day, Aaron proceeded to go on a break with Taylor. And that's when he almost cheated with her on Whitney. So Taylor
she,
sees him as the
blames
reason,
Mason.
yes,
Yeah.
for this blip in their relationship.
Yeah.
Got
Okay.
it.
And
Okay.
he's like, no, here's what I actually said. And it was basically like, don't fuck up the best thing that you have going for you. Like, put yourself out of your misery and stop fucking around. It was like that kind of thing. But of course, she only heard the bad part.
Right.
And
Well,
so
yeah.
she apologizes. There's this moment. She's kind of standing there in her like wet clothes. They're in like Noah's,
Ooh, okay.
guest
Ark.
room. And they're standing there. And she goes, I'm sorry, but I'm really not that hard to please. And he goes,
hey, you want to try?
He goes, oh, really? And then he proceeds to eat her out with number 1. And I call this one earth-shattering guest bed buffet.
Amazing.
In which he just eats her out all over that guest bed.
Yes.
The next morning she wakes up in his bed. They did not sleep together, but he didn't even let her like reciprocate because he wanted to reassure her that she wasn't just like some girl he was going to fucking leave.
Yeah.
So
damn, Mason.
Yeah, so he gets up and he has to leave for work. And so she like kind of stops. She goes, wait, before you leave. And she goes, and she like kisses him. And he is like, well, I didn't want this to happen. And then they look down and he just has another hard on. And he's like, I have to go.
Stop getting boners then if you don't want this.
He's like, now I have to go to a meeting. Thank you. And like walks away.
I love that.
And so that night he, and she like goes about her day. That night he invites her for dinner.
And he prioritizes work.
Right. The guys, this is a dream man.
Gentleman.
He invites her for dinner that night and he asks her about herself. We learned she grew up around Vermont. She was bouncing from family member to family member in different relatives' houses. And then she moved to New York City. And her old math teacher is the person that helped her like get an internship and like learn how to be an adult and all this stuff. So she attributes a lot of
I want an internship in adulting.
Yeah. And it was Mrs. Nolan was her name, but she doesn't like to speak about Mrs. Nolan. She just likes to speak about her influence. And she's like, please don't ask about it. And he's like, okay, well, he tells
I killed Mrs. Nolan.
We're bearing the lead on this one. Mason tells her a little bit more about his family, which she has met because she was with Aaron for 3 years. But his mom is just super duper sweet. He's worried that Mason is worried that if Aaron marries Ava, he'll just never talk to his mom again because over the last 3 years, he's really been like pulling away. Aaron has this weird idea that like Clara favors Mason, which isn't true at all. It's just this way he views everything, and so it's clearly like hurting his mom. Mm-hmm. After he says all this like kind of vulnerable stuff about his mom, there's a beat. She confesses that she did have a miscarriage with Aaron, and she talks it through with Mason, and he basically comforts her. I don't want to go into too much detail, but it was a very big moment in their relationship, and but after that, everything was fine with them. So again, when Aaron kind of just left out of the blue, it was just completely out of the blue for Taylor.
Yeah. That's just an extra level of cruelty.
Yes. And she doesn't tell a ton of...
you went through like...
Exactly. Yeah. She doesn't tell a lot of people this, but she needs him to know.
Especially when you remember, here is always my argument. When you remember that the alternative is a fucking conversation, like all you had to do was have a fucking talk. Yep. That's the thing that always pisses me off with stories like this that happen in real life and in stories, but like where you're like, oh, you mean a text message? I feel like we've talked about it in this podcast, but it's like, oh, you could have fixed all of these. Yeah. You could have saved 35 lives.
I think there was like a text message that was basically like I'm sorry, and that was it from him, and it's still not enough.
Yeah, but you already cheated, bro.
Correct.
It's
yeah,
a little late for sorries.
Absolutely.
So the next day, Sophia is told the truth about the Femmes, and they chat about how maybe Taylor is actually...
Femmes.
I know, I do like it. They chat about how Taylor is actually starting to develop feelings for Mason, but she doesn't want to talk about it that night. And Sophia's like, you guys just need to bang. Your sexual tension is crazy. Please bang.
I really like Sophia.
Yeah, I do too. And she's like, this man is my cousin. I want you to bang him. And she's like, got it.
Honestly, that's my relationship with my cousin. I'm like, yeah, I'll wingman you, bro.
Yeah,
and so this is like a couple nights before St. Lucia. So Mason is working a lot. The only time he can get off this night is at midnight. So he ends up coming over after work around midnight. They're hanging out. She ends up like, they're talking, they kind of kiss, she gives him a massage, and which leads to a makeout. Great. And then he gets like 3 calls in a row, and so
who is she?
They're like getting hot and heavy, and he's like, I'm sorry if I'm getting 3 calls at like 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, it's important. And so he answers it while she starts to finger herself, and he's like staring intently as he's on the phone. In number 2, which I call, who the fuck is calling about business at 2 a.m.?
Yeah, that's insane.
So 2 nights before they go to St. Lucia, she ends up visiting him at work. Again, it's like 11 or 12
it really was
night.
A business call?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Insane.
I couldn't do that job.
Most upsetting part of the story so far.
Yeah. So 2 nights before, she visits him at work. They get hot and heavy in his office, which I call number 3. She returns the favor, finally, and she blows him, and they go back to his house, and they fall asleep together. Still no sex.
We would say finally, but not for women, would we?
No.
You know?
I like giving blowjobs.
I like it sometimes. I like it when it's not. They're like, if they're not like hell bent on it, right?
I
Like
got
if
it.
it's not like expected.
Yeah. You like it if it's your decision.
If it's my choice. I've definitely had a good time. Like there's been good time. Yeah, I like making other people feel good.
When
like,
you find the right person to do it too.
Yeah.
Well, and I also
nice.
I get paid back in kind, but my favorite thing is to throw on a movie and just you know
a Ghibli film.
Oh my god.
Just have a slow, lovely time.
Wow.
A
Interesting.
whole movie.
It's nice.
You know, I have jaw
I like
issues,
to put on
so
one commercial.
Well, I'm not the whole movie.
just an hour and a half.
You did make it sound like you were.
You did.
I get like half the movie.
I like
and
to
then
put
he
on a
gets
mini
half the
series.
movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the night before.
Listen, Emily, sometimes when you love each other and you
When a man and a
enjoy
woman
each other's bodies.
I am 60% of the way through this book. We are so not even close. So the night before St. Lucia, Aaron calls Taylor for the first time.
Boo.
And he's like, this can't be true. This can't be true. Tell me it's not true. She's like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? And it is, she goes, it is true. I really like him. He's
also,
not.
none of your fucking business.
Aaron's like, no, you don't. I don't believe you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, fuck you, Aaron. I'm coming to your wedding. Hangs up.
Damn. Not that I'm coming to your wedding sounds so threatening, bro.
And
That's kind of a crime. I don't know. That feels a little too. I would have been like, bro, I'm getting a restraining order on this bitch. That's crazy.
I will say this is all happening around November, December, and
so this is a Christmas movie.
So it's before the wedding is taking place before Christmas. So I'd say like early December. Then Christmas is going to happen, and then Taylor's birthday is going to happen. Taylor's birthday is like December 28th.
Mm-hmm. How long is this book?
I don't know. And so on the plane ride over, Mason is like, I want to give you an early birthday present because we've got, I just want to give it to you now. And he ends up giving her, I think it's day of the week underwear. And it says Wednesday on it, and it has rhinestones. Hence why I said that in the
That's cute.
Because he's like, now you can actually wear this on Wednesday, and she's like, fuck off. And he teases her about her own dream birthday, and because she says,
honestly, a callback's real cute because it just shows you're paying attention.
Yes,
like to me,
absolutely.
I'm just like, if you can call back something, even if it's not like in a funny
the
way,
tiniest thing, love it.
It's I thought of you while I was out.
I will jump your bones if
but
you do a callback.
Not only did I think of you when I was out, but I thought of a joke that we had together is real fucking cute. That is sexy.
I love it.
Okay.
That is one of my love languages.
Yeah,
I love
same.
that.
A callback is my love language.
Callback is my love language. And
mine is type 5.
he teases her about her dream birthday in which she says she wishes she could be like on a deserted island with the books that she hasn't finished yet, and she wants chocolate growing from the trees, and she wants an endless supply of wine, and it's like this very like self-care thing. She goes, oh well, if that's what you're gonna do, I'm gonna tease you too. So they kind of set up this like challenge. And so they get to St. Lucia. It's hot as fuck. Everyone is at the pool. They're like, oh, we've rented out the pool. It's most of the party, but not Aaron and not Ava, because they're at dinner with Ava's parents. So they're just gonna have a good time at the pool. She is like, they're both eye fucking each other because they go, like, she changed in Sophia's room because that's where some of her stuff was. She has this like tiny white crochet bikini on, I guess, and he's wearing like, I don't know, board shorts, I don't know, but they see each other and he's like, I am going to snap, we need to have sex soon. She's like, you can wait, like blah blah blah. It's like they have this big teasing game going. And so they start talking about the first time they met, and he admits that he's actually had a crush on her for a very long time, and he's always been jealous of Aaron, and he has these feelings for her. She teases him a lot more, and he finally loses it like later on at the pool party. He throws her over his shoulder, hot, and takes her to the farthest cabana. So still
At the Copa?
At the Copa. Pulls the curtain closed,
but they're still on the beach
with your family.
They're in like the pool
it's
area.
It's weird because his family is there.
Yes.
That's
I don't
thing.
love that grandma's around.
I don't think they don't mention any family members.
Yeah,
it's more like friends.
Okay.
But still, they go.
It's still people you know.
And I'm assuming it's a
still
very like big pool area, but they go to the furthest cabana.
But honestly, if it's a destination wedding, I'm living for the tea. I'm gonna be watching everybody's fucking big
100%. And this is number 4. They finally bang, and wow, and it's like an earth-shattering. They bang in the cabana
loudly
after they just finish. Like he finishes.
They came at the same time.
As usual, as does everyone in the world. Aaron,
if you don't come at the same time as your partner, y'all are broken. There's something wrong with you. You don't love.
You have to break up. You have to break up.
Wait, what does Aaron do? What does Aaron do?
As they finish, Aaron walks in.
And As they're both coming.
So they make eye contact with his brother.
Finish.
Boom. I can't stop coming. It's like the grandma's boy scene.
Yeah. And so in the next, like, that's where the chapter ends. So like the next chapter, she's like pulling on her clothes, and Mason is like holding Aaron back because he is like frothing at the mouth, being like, "I just want to talk to her. I just want to talk to her." He's like, "You
fucked up, bro."
Yeah, he's like, also, what are you gonna fight her? Like, get the fuck out of here.
And he's like, "You have to calm down." And he's like, "Don't you tell me." Like, they have this whole like fight kind of thing, not like fists, but they are like screaming at each other. And Mason says, "No, you can't talk to him." Or I'm sorry, to Taylor. And Aaron's like, "Okay, well, my marrying Ava is nothing like you being with Taylor because I actually care about Ava and you don't give a fuck about this girl." Damn. And Taylor like dresses,
cries and leaves.
She dresses. Mason's like, "Aaron, this is the best thing that's ever happened in my life. Like, I am crazy about this girl. How dare you?" And she starts leaving, and Aaron's like, "Stop. Like, I will call off this wedding. I will call off this wedding for you." And she's like, "Fuck you, Aaron." And like walks away.
Also, do it, bitch, if it's that easy.
So then
do it. You don't want to marry that bitch anyway, because honestly, save her the fucking crisis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the end of that chapter. The next chapter starts like this. "This was fucked up. I was supposed to be in tears, torn up. My breathing is ragged as I close my eyes, white knuckling the railing as Mason thrusts into me."
I was going to say,
they start. I was like, what a good turn. Because I was like, I bet she's just like having a moment.
She's so upset.
No, they're fucking, they have sex in the balcony, which I call number 5, a little exhibitionism. And after they finish, they have sex like all night. And they're like, we should just leave. We should just get our private jet, because they have a private jet, and leave. But they're like, you know what? They each get a text from
these types of books.
They each get a text from both Aaron and Ava being like, we have a breakfast tomorrow. Like, I apologize for that. Like, we still want you to be here. So they're like, you know what? Let's go to breakfast. Let's see how things work, and let's evaluate.
I bet it's a setup.
So they both go to the brunch, and
Spoiler.
Ava is being a bitch, but Taylor kind of grins and bears it, and until the end, because Ava's kind of made a few comments. She's like, "Well, when I do this, da da da," and Taylor's like, "That's nice," and Whitney is like, "Keep going, keep going." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She grins and bears it until the end, when Ava talks about how when she finally gets pregnant, she'll be able to carry it. And she'll name their boy child Nolan.
That's unhinged.
No. Mm-hmm. And
what is the most unhinged is naming your kid. No, I'm just kidding. That is unhinged.
Well,
fuck
Nolan.
off.
So Nolan is Mrs. Nolan. They named their unborn child Nolan. Damn. So it's the same thing. So that's immediately when Taylor gets up and storms out. Both Aaron and Mason run after her.
That's fucked up.
Aaron's like, "I'm so sorry.
That's
I didn't
really
think she would say that." And she's like, "You are."
What do you mean I didn't think you would say? Nobody thought she would say that, because that's unhinged.
Yes. And she goes
straight to jail.
"You are actually disgusting. I never want to see you again." And so Sophia and Noah, who was there the whole time, it was Sophia's date. Sophia, Noah, Taylor, and Mason leave. They get on the plane. They start going back home. And they have a lovely plane ride. And like, Taylor's really upset, but by the end of it, she's been cheered up. It's great. As she's getting off the plane in New York, she gets a slew of texts. And she learns that night that
there was a fist fight.
So I don't know if I like fully said this the last time. You know how she got drunk and Mason had to take care of her?
Yeah.
Well, the reason she hasn't been drinking a lot is because there was one night in which she got like, the night they went on a break.
Yeah.
Her and Aaron went on a break. She got like blackout drunk. Sophia had to like call Aaron to like come help her take her home. And that was the night he almost cheated on her with Whitney.
Got it.
And that was like the renewal of their relationship again. She learns that night it was not Aaron who helped her, but Mason. That night she got drunk, which means that she got mad because Aaron did cheat on her with Whitney, meaning she would have never taken Aaron back if she had known he cheated on her with Whitney.
She wasn't so hammy.
Which meant she would have never gotten pregnant, which meant she would have never miscarried a child.
Oh.
So she now has this whole
dark.
She has this whole moment of like, oh my God, Mason, this is all your fault.
Yeah,
my heart
that's
for
awful.
her.
She's
really
mad,
heavy.
and it's now about to be
heavy.
Christmas. They have 4 days left of their big vacation, and Mason's like, no, please let me explain to you. She goes, I need space. She goes to Vermont. She goes to Vermont. She gets in this Airbnb. We're like right at the end. And she
stops at Ben and Jerry's on the way.
She stops at Ben and Jerry's. She's in Airbnb. It's Christmas Day. And she goes, you know what? I haven't talked to Mrs. Nolan forever. This woman changed my life. So she writes this letter. And she writes this entire letter of everything that has happened. And she goes, well, fuck, I don't remember where Mrs. Nolan lives. I don't know her phone number. So I'm just going to go to the school and drop it off. And she goes to the school. It's closed. But there is a teacher. There's like a younger guy who's a teacher there. And she explains that she wants to leave this thing.
Hey, kid, I want a trauma dump on my old teacher.
And he goes, okay, well, you can come in. And he ends up working in the same classroom as Mrs. Nolan, and they talk. And after a while, she's like, well, I guess I'm going to leave this here. And he goes, I have to tell you something. Mrs. Nolan is no longer here. She has passed away. Aww. And she goes, why did you lie and say
because
this?
I'm Mrs. Nolan. And he rips off his face.
Well, and he's like, I just thought it'd be kinder to not tell you the truth. And it's this whole thing of like, she realizes Mason was trying to be kind by not telling her. Like, he was trying to protect her to be happy. It's this whole thing. So she kind of realizes that. She goes back to work, and she has to deliver papers to the hotel that Mason lives at. And so she goes up, and it's supposed to be this huge Christmas party that like their company bought out, and like it got her company a lot of money. And she goes up into this space, and she finds nothing there except for a lounge chair.
Oh, it's all the things she wanted.
A fake palm tree with chocolates like tied to it. There's a little bookshelf of all the books that she's never read or never finished. There's a bottle of wine. And there's a letter that says
like Ron Swanson
written by a woman.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, stay here as long as you want. Happy birthday. And
cute.
So she stays till like midnight because she's like, I'm not gonna make these people stay here. Like, this is awkward.
Yeah.
And
I would have stayed like 8 minutes and been so anxious.
She goes after midnight, after it's like officially not her birthday anymore. She goes to his place, and they make up, and they have a bunch of sex, and then 1 year later he proposes, and that's the end of the story.
That's so sweet.
That's really beautiful.
I love that.
I actually really enjoyed this book. It was so fun. Good. And the game I have, I'm just doing a this or that game.
Great.
Okay.
Ready?
Great.
So this or that, jewelry or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Reading books,
unless they know me well. But chocolate.
Yeah,
chocolate.
this is like, I'm saying, would you rather have chocolate hanging from that tree or the diamond necklace that's gorgeous?
Chocolate.
Yeah? Okay.
I have plenty of necklaces.
Reading the books that you haven't like finished, or watching movies on a private island?
Watching movies. Wait, both on a private island?
Both on a private island.
Depends on my ADD that day. Depends on how hungover. I want both. I want to alternate.
Yeah, me too.
No, you can only pick one.
Well, I won't.
1, 2, 3, go.
Movies.
Books.
Because my brain is not smart enough.
That's fair.
I'm going to assume I'm an idiot.
Can the books be fan fiction?
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all your books.
Yeah.
This or that. Writing a letter or picking up the phone?
Letter.
Writing a letter.
I don't want to talk to nobody, never.
Never.
Despite what we're currently doing.
Yeah, this is the only time. But
the
we're not on
only
the phone. I can see you.
I can only talk to people through a microphone. That's all I have.
This or that. Sex in a cabana or sex on a balcony?
Cabana.
Balcony.
Balcony's too voyeuristic. I like the idea of the cabana because I'm near the ocean.
Everyone can hear you in the cabana. People might see you on the balcony.
Yeah, it depends on how popular each of these are.
I think, well, it was also like nighttime on the balcony, so it was like a secluded kind of thing.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would rather
both are like secluded in some way.
I fucked on a balcony, so I was saying cabana.
You make some weird noise.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to hear me.
I fucked on a lot of balconies, actually.
Last one. Man in a 3-piece suit or a man in a tight sweater and jeans?
Tight sweater and jeans.
3-piece suit.
It depends on
I
how
was
the
going to
fit.
say, Peaky Blinders over here.
Mine depends on the fit.
Pocket
of
watch?
both.
Hell
I mean,
yeah.
Mine is
perfect
the fit of both.
Perfect fit of every time.
Then a good
actually,
suit is sexy.
a well accessorized 3-piece suit.
I'm going to say it's not 20s type. It's like normal day.
I need to see a pocket square. I need to see a watch of some kind.
Okay,
I need to see that you didn't just be. I need to see that you weren't just handed a 3-piece suit by someone
I'm
and
thinking
put it on.
3-piece suit businessman. So there's going to be a watch, not a pocket watch. There's probably going to be a watch. There might be a pocket square, but I'd say there's more like cufflinks.
I'm still going sweater. Actually,
I'm still going suit.
I'm going sweater.
But the important thing there, I think the reason that we find both of those outfits attractive, because I do find the sweater equally attractive, is it is a man who has put some thought into
it's not
a wardrobe.
shorts and a polo.
it's hot that way.
Correct.
I'm tired.
And
both
both of those body types, I was thinking Henry Cavill. I go, which one's he hotter? And I go, damn, he's hot in both.
He's hot in both.
He's hot in both.
It's just a different vibe.
Yeah, it depends on the fit too. Like to me, I'm like I've seen bad suits, like oversized suits or bad fits, and I've seen bad sweater, right? Like, and I'm like, I've seen a man who looks good. To me, it is vibes all day.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Oh,
balcony or cabana?
Ooh, balcony.
Sweater or suit?
Sweater.
Necklace or
chocolates?
Necklace, because I can have it for longer.
Books or movies?
Books. Ooh, didn't think I'd say that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to answer like right off the
That
cuff.
one is hard. That one's really hard.
Yeah, that one is hard. Anyway.
Well, that was X Games.
It was delightful.
No,
it was very fun.
That was not. That was more like excellent games.
Hey.
Am I right?
It's your turn.
It's my turn.
Beeble-bop.
Are you ready for a very different version
of the Y games
of the thing that you chose?
Are you ready for
Yeah.
it?
Brown.
Wow.
Tell me I'm wrong about that being the noise that she makes, though.
I didn't know fucking DJ fucking Cat. No, what's a better DJ? Isn't that?
No, just DJ Khaled.
DJ Khaled. I sounded just like DJ Khaled. Okay, I will be reading Flight Risk.
Oh.
By Aes and Itskleo. It is two people that worked on this story together.
Okay.
Aes is the writer, and then Cleo is a artist.
Oh, okay.
And so they helped with the plot, and then they also made original fan art for each of the chapters.
So it's
Love
like
that.
graphic novel style?
Not really graphic novel, but like
Just one
there is
picture.
there is like a picture that's a still of the important scene from.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very, very
that,
cool.
yeah.
And it's beautifully drawn. So I feel like I say that a lot, but like check this fic out. And at the very least, if you're listening and you want to see some of the artwork, it's worth a look for sure.
Check out that fic pic.
Check out that fic pic. So this is actually a fic in the Stranger Things fandom.
Okay.
And we're going with another Eddie and Steve pairing.
I'm not surprised.
A tried and true pairing in our world. It is an AU, as I've been doing a lot of this season, so we don't really need to know a lot about Stranger Things. But Julie, what familiarity, if any, do you have with this?
I watched the first season with a partner, but did not like the violence of it. So I was very much like a big on my phone person. But I know the premises. I know like the Demogorgons and the Upside Down and the fucking like
basically 80s kids on bikes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That part was great. I like the nostalgia abortions. Like I was on board with the kid actors. Like I was here for everybody. I just it's a little violent and a little weird. So that wasn't for me, but I watched because I was a good partner, and that's the kind of supportive person I am, and I am.
You are.
And I will
You
be
heard
forever.
it here. You heard it here first.
Julie is a supportive fucking
She's
partner,
supportive
you guys.
as fuck.
Whatever you heard in that cheesy's bathroom was a fucking lie.
It wasn't even her. It was some other dude.
Whatever you read in those 3 hours before they closed.
Jesus.
As a quick, because we've done this pairing a couple of times on the podcast. So long-term listeners have heard this before.
Okay.
But basically, there wasn't a huge fan fiction world for Stranger Things until the most recent season.
I'm surprised.
Well, because
love
they were
this.
children.
Yes.
For most of the seasons, they were like literal children.
Can I be honest? That's so fucking good to hear that because I just heard people sexualizing 11 since she was 11.
and-
So
well,
it really
fanfic-
was one of those to me where it was like, to me, it doesn't have to be creepy because it's like
but it's not always
what all high
romantic. It's not
school-
always. It's just another
that's
story.
What I meant.
So yes, but
That's what I meant. It doesn't have to be weird
Yeah.
and like you're fucking these like kids fucking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be
but
like
now
that.
they're older, and now there's older cast members.
Well,
now
and
they're grown.
The thing that really grew the fanfiction community is the character of Eddie Munson getting introduced in the latest season.
Okay,
And
it's Eddie Munster, by the way.
Shut up.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So, like, Eddie Munson. So, again, rules with AUs. The souls of these characters will be present.
Okay.
And available to us. They will look the same, but otherwise we are in a wholly different world. So, the vibe of Eddie Munson, long curly hair in the show. He's a DM for many D&D games.
Got it.
Kind of a nerd, plays guitar, is in a band,
hot.
is a drug dealer, is a
hot.
pothead.
So hot.
So hot. Canonically is just a very kind of performative, flamboyant, loud person that the fans were immediately like, you. And then Steve Harrington has been in the show since the beginning.
Super hot.
He's the one with the floppy hair from the first season. You may have noticed. God, he was the older boy in from the beginning. So Steve Harrington as a character. So Eddie Munson, chaotic, loud, DM, hot, pothead. Steve Harrington, steady, quiet father of 5, keeping everyone on track.
Steady, hot father
single
of
mom
5.
who works too hard.
Yep, single mom who works too hard, who loves his kids and never stops. And just like throughout the show becomes kind of softer and through like protecting these kids and caring about these kids and all of this stuff. And so there is a huge community for these two to get together called Steady. That's their ship name.
Okay.
Steve and Eddie.
Got it.
Love it.
And there's several canon moments in the latest season where they have chemistry and they're kind of, it's kind of that
the
opposites.
class or no, I'm just kidding.
It's kind of that like opposites attract thing. And that is really, if you look at the fan fiction under Stranger Things, that is the large majority of the fan fiction is about these two and not about the kids really. Steve Harrington, I give him a pass because he was like, I think a senior in high school and like has become an adult through the series and it's a little more okay for me.
Got it.
So we don't need to get anything else. The listeners have heard a lot about Stranger Things.
And if you haven't, you need to go back and listen to
our. We have a few.
Please.
So this fic in particular, like I said, it's a true AU. It is 16 chapters. It was completed January 6th of 2023.
Oh,
so they just finished it, and I snapped it up
last year.
Oh yeah.
A fresh
I was
release.
like, wait, 2023 is not this year anymore.
It's exactly a year old, or a little over a year old.
Oh my gosh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, fic. So it's pretty popular. It has over 1,500 bookmarks, meaning a lot of people have wanted to save it, which we love.
Okay.
Tags, bodyguard / rockstar AU.
Okay.
Okay.
Obsessed. Go on.
Fuck that guy to I want to fuck that guy.
Yes.
Slow burn, but they're having sex the whole time. And then the bondage but romantic, non-canonical size kink.
Slow burn, but they're having sex the whole time.
Yeah.
Is the tag of my fucking 20s.
So and then the last one is sad boy Eddie and 90s steady. So these are 90. This is set in the 90s. Someone is a rock star. Someone's a bodyguard. That's what we have.
Hell yeah.
Yep. So
it's an AU, correct?
It is an AU.
Okay, yes.
It is an AU with these characters.
Got it.
It is the first fic in a series. So the authors have since collaborated together in 3 more one-offs that live in this universe that they've made.
So since 1 year ago, they've written 3 things. What have you done?
Nothing.
Not a damn
written
thing.
3 things and made
I washed my
art.
ass.
Made art.
And they're also working on a podfic of this fic. Yeah. So
good job, guys.
And a translation into Polish is available.
I've never been so passionate about one thing for so long.
I know.
I jump ship.
I love fan fictions. And then also they made a playlist to accompany the fanfic.
Hell yeah, I do love that.
It's great.
That's huge in romance books.
Yeah.
It's just the Kate Bush song on repeat.
Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of authors make them because they will make a playlist to listen to inspire them while they're writing.
I did it in my first little I wrote a screenplay once, and I had the songs that were very much a vibe. Because that's
and then
my
they'll
favorite part of
add
movies.
to it and
like,
post
this
to it.
has to set the mood. I cried to this song.
It's one of my favorite ways to find new music is I'll get obsessed with something and I'll just
soundtrack.
type it into the playlists search on Spotify and see what I can find.
That's a good idea.
I will say those like Pandora type, like Spotify, like the offshoots of like sounds like Garden State or whatever.
Yeah.
It's one of
Like
the
it's
best
not
ways
it's
to
not
find
just
new
the
shit.
shins,
Those
but
are a
you're
good
getting
idea.
like the vibe. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So try like Stranger Things playlist and just find the ones that people have made, or there's people have made them for pairings. It's super fun.
I love that idea.
That's
I love
so
it.
great.
I'm gonna do that.
Do it. It's great. And then there is one of the fics that they made, which I was just very impressed by. Like one of their spin-off fics. Because this is a rock star AU, they reference a lot of articles and interviews and that kind of thing. And there's an entire fic that just each chapter is a different article or something that was referenced in the original fic.
Ooh, that's
Okay,
cool.
so they didn't just write fucking 4 books. These
No,
are
they
showing
like-
off at this point.
Yeah, they made
is
a
their
whole
passion.
universe.
Like that's amazing. Actually, I love
It's
that
so
there's
cool.
like backstory. Also, so fun.
Yeah.
Yes. What a fun little creative project.
It's so cool. Like they've got like a interview
I
transcripts.
said little creative project. I said, bitch.
Just a little thing.
Just like a small little side project.
It's
you
like
did.
A huge. It's fine.
You probably had like the red line of detective work.
String everywhere.
Pepe Sylvia.
Quick trigger warning, which we'll do. We obviously will have these at the beginning of the episode too, but just to put it out there for you guys, just a smattering of drug use and kink as a mechanism of taking out bad feelings for yourself, like. Which can be triggering to some people. So, like, everyone who's doing the kink around the character is doing it correctly, but the character is doing it for self-hating reasons.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
But mostly above board, and no one can control what their play partner is going through at the time. They have to just trust that that person is telling the truth when they say they're consenting. Anyway.
Cute.
Chapter 1.
Ooh.
Also, we switch back and forth rapidly between POVs. I'm going to do my best to be clear, but if you are confused at any point, please stop me.
Okay.
So Eddie is drunk at 1 p.m. in a dive bar in a town where he is touring with his band.
Cool.
He hears behind him, found him on a walkie-talkie, and there is an absolutely pissed security person from his team who Eddie has once again slipped away from an hour before he was supposed to be on stage. So Eddie knows the guy will be fired over this because he lost the person that he's supposed to be protecting. But this is what Eddie does because he hates that there is anybody ever telling him what to do. And he kind of blows it off and is like, whatever, and goes back to the concert venue. Steve POV, quote, nobody took security seriously enough in the music industry, which Steve took as a personal offense. Steve is walking up to this venue where they're on tour and is just marking security risks. It is just a very serious man who takes his job very seriously. And he's very annoyed that he wasn't guarding someone more important. But his ex-sergeant handler of a father assigned him to this job. And we find out that his adopted dad is Jim Hopper.
He never has parents.
Nope, he never has parents. And so Hopper is his dad and also his boss in this fic. There's no huge real threats against Eddie, but he's a pretty famous rock star, and so he has full-time security just to make sure that nobody gets too crazy. But he is legendary amongst the industry for trying to slip out of whatever he's been told to be in, because he just is known to resent the fact that he has to have bodyguards or that anybody would ever tell him what he has to do or where he has to be.
Yeah.
And he meets Eddie's manager, Chrissy Cunningham, who's just a badass bitch. Her and Eddie have been best friends forever. She is also, Julie, in the latest season. She is a character.
Just looking up characters.
Yes. Her and Eddie have like a brief flirtation in like the beginning of the season, and she is also one of those characters that isn't in it for very long but became much beloved by the fans. So Steve meets Eddie's manager, Chrissy, and she kind of gives him the lowdown, and she goes, listen, like, Eddie is like a brother to me. I love him very much, but he is a shithead and he will try to fuck with you, so just so you know, this is what you're dealing with. But Chrissy and her family's like production company or whatever are one of the biggest accounts for this security firm. So Hopper's basically like, we cannot lose these people. We need to impress them. That's why I'm putting you on this job. Like, you need to be buttoned up. So Eddie, later on, he is smoking on the roof of his hotel. He has once again snuck out of a bathroom window and no one knows where he is.
Okay.
And he hears a voice once again behind him. And all he registers is that there is a man in a suit and he has very nice shoulders.
Okay.
His face is stern but lovely and his hair is tall. Steve says to Eddie, hey, you're due back in 20 minutes. And also I'm your new security. And Eddie says, oh, wait, what's your name? And he goes, my name is Harrington. You can call me Harrington. And like an hour later, they have the show and Steve gets really pissed because Eddie crowd surfs, which is a huge security risk. And he follows Eddie to the green room. And then subsequently the Eddie goes into the bathroom and like is like, can I just fucking pee in peace? And Steve's like, fine, and lets him close the door. And Eddie runs the tap and tries to escape out the window and is like halfway through when he feels a hand on his ankle and Steve pulls him back. And this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, basically.
Gotcha.
You know, the old hand on the ankle in the public restroom friendship. That whole trope.
Gives you those flurries.
And this is a way to shoehorn in one of my least favorite pet names that comes up in fanfic all the
Sugar
time.
Tits.
Is it Pop It?
No.
Pop
But
it.
so Steve pulls Eddie back into the bathroom and says, you're like a naughty kitten. Maybe I'll call you that.
No.
And Eddie scowls and goes, what the fuck's your name then? And Steve says, it's Steve. But from now on, Steve does call Eddie Kitten every now and again.
I've never liked Kitten.
I've never liked Kitten either.
No,
And I've
like it.
tried to get into Kitten because it comes up so much. And I'm
It's
like,
a
what am I
popular one.
missing about Kitten?
I don't like Good Girl either. And
I like
realize
Good
a
Girl.
lot of
in
people
some.
do.
I like it in some
I
situations.
don't. It gives me dog, and to me, Kitten is very much like. I don't hate Kitten as much as I hate Good Girl. To me, like I don't want anything infantilizing.
I don't like Baby Girl.
Kitten could be British. If you're British, you can get away with it.
Hello, Kitten.
That's fair.
No.
There's just something
No.
about the, I don't know. I'm a
Kitten.
very,
Sex kitten.
you may have like learned this about me already, but I'm a big person for how words feel, and kitten just doesn't feel good to me. It just doesn't sit in a way that I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
It just
hey,
is-
Kitten.
Ugh.
Hey, Kitten.
Hey, kitten.
Jessica has physically moved
Recoiled.
back.
Recoiled.
Recoiled.
She has arched her back and hissed like a kitten.
Only a little.
Thank God we have with the wing guards on here.
So the next chapter, Steve is just, they're on tour and Steve is learning the rhythms of the tour. And
This is the rhythm of the tour.
We don't have the rights.
and we don't have the rights. So Steve is learning the flow of touring. Eddie is still trying to fuck with him at every opportunity because he just does not want him there. And
He's punk rock as fuck.
he's punk rock as fuck, and he has managed to get all of his security people fired pretty consistently. So why
He's like-
wouldn't...
It's giving like, oh, I don't want a new stepmom.
Exactly. So he's pushing him at every opportunity, sneaking away, taunting him, trying to get him to quit, trying to get him to fuck up. And Steve is just constantly frustrated and annoyed because he is genuinely good at his job and keeps catching him.
And he wants to do a good job.
He wants to do a good job. He desperately wants to do a good job. But he's like, can I just live for fuck's sake without this grown man trying to sneak out a window like we're in a cartoon or something? He's escorting Eddie they're in Chicago. We're in Chicago. So they're in Chicago. Eddie managed to escape to a like dive downtown, probably Monk's or something. I don't know. And
Billy Goat Tavern.
It's Miller's Pub. Yeah.
Miller. Oh yeah, Miller's Pub. And so Steve is like bringing him back. I imagine him holding his ear and like dragging him. Probably not, but that's the vibe.
Yeah.
And
Scruff of the neck.
yeah. And he's like, he's really annoyed. And he's like, he says to Eddie, do you really think I want to be here? Like, this is not exactly what I was hoping to do for the rest of my life. And Eddie says, well, no, but at least you're making money off me. And you get off on being a controlling asshole, clearly.
Yeah.
And they're bantering back and forth when they hear, is that Eddie Munson on the sidewalk? And Steve has to like get Eddie out because they nearly get mobbed by fans. And he's like, this is why I do what I do, motherfucker.
Yeah.
My job has meaning.
Yes. And so then Eddie's POV, Eddie is also very frustrated because Steve keeps catching him and he's never had to deal with that before. Like most of his bodyguards catch him once or twice and then he gets the better of them and they get fired. He's never had someone consistently with him for as long as Steve has been, and he fucking hates it. And so they have a show in Indianapolis. It goes well. He takes advantage of the chaos to run away. Steve is chasing him. Eddie is like, I know how to really fuck with him. And he goes to a gay bar that he knows that also happens to have rooms in the back. It's that kind of establishment.
Okay.
And so he just immediately like goes up to the bar, orders a drink, and starts to flirt with a man. And they start having sex almost immediately.
Oh, okay. So he is openly gay.
He is openly gay.
Okay.
Eddie is. And so they go to the back. The man starts to blow him. Eddie's like sitting down and the man is kneeling. And Eddie has his eyes closed and he hears a cough. And Steve is standing in the doorway and is like, hey, you should be back at the thing. And he goes, I'm in the middle of something right now. You can wait over there.
And where should he be right now? Like, that's kind of too much for security, bro. I'd fire my security guard.
It's like he's famous enough that he just generally it is unsafe for him to be out in the general public.
I'm also like, but he can't be having his little free time.
I mean, he probably could, but
he could have it in a safe way.
He literally snuck out and ran away.
Yeah,
I think it's more the issue.
And then you're getting your dick sucked by a stranger.
And then you're getting your dick sucked by a stranger, which ain't great.
Yeah, like if you're on Target,
not safe.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
So he tells Steve to like wait over there until he's done, basically. And then we switch to Steve's POV and he wants to kill Eddie because Eddie's treating him like shit and he's never been treated like this in his entire life and he's very angry, but he also definitely is not super turned on by this, certainly not watching intently as this man gets blown because his eyes are closed and he won't see, but Steve like cannot rip his eyes away. And Eddie in the back of his mind is like, fucker, you're gonna quit. No. But it has backfired because we have both of their POVs and we know that.
Yeah, and he's like, nah, I'm about to get a 401k, baby. I ain't leaving.
And so they basically lock eyes and like hold very intense eye contact. And then as soon as Eddie comes, Steve is like, okay, we're getting the fuck out of here. Grabs Eddie's hand, drags him back to the hotel, and basically shoves him into this hotel room and says, I'm going to get you at 9 a.m. so we can go to Detroit. And closes the door to Eddie laughing and saying, thanks for letting me get a blowjob. Yeah. And then the phrase is, if Steve jerks off later to Eddie's music videos, it's none of anybody's business. But then Eddie can't stop thinking about Steve watching him getting a blowjob.
Yeah, there it is.
And he tries to put it out of his mind. They're at the next place. Him and Chrissy go out for a drink. They're on their way back. They come back and they pass the gym of whatever hotel they're staying in. Okay. And he sees Steve shirtless doing his bodyguard routine or whatever the fuck, and it's apparently very I've never
bodyguard routine
Y-tie in the park or whatever.
Personally, I have never looked at a man working out or a woman. I've never looked at anyone working out and been attracted to them.
I have 100%.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it depends.
It's attractive when someone, it's like a hobby. It's like seeing someone do a hobby. If they're really into it, they're very focused. And then you see them working on their physique. You see the sweat. Like it's all within the same circle.
I'll accept that.
Yeah.
So, Eddie sees Steve working out in the hotel gym shirtless and basically stops in his tracks and in particular notices that Steve has really good thighs. And I'm picturing the big thighs, the tree trunk thighs that we all appreciate. And he later that day, he's like, you know what? None of my usual things for the last 3-4 weeks have worked. I'm going to try to be a person. And he asks Steve, hey, do you want to get a drink with me while we're in Philly for one of our next stops? We're going to be in Philly. Let's go get a drink when we're both off the clock. I need a night out. And he says, I'm really sick of being scheduled down to the second and dealing with screaming crowds everywhere. And it would be really, really great if you can come with me so you don't have to worry about security and we can both just have a nice evening without antagonizing each other.
That's good.
Yeah.
A little communication goes a long way.
And the next day after like Eddie extends that olive branch, they're at a red carpet after party thing. Mm-hmm. And Steve can see visibly that Eddie is getting overwhelmed socially and just doesn't want to be there. And he's kind of starting to spiral. And he goes up to him and he says, you can use me as an excuse to leave at any point, by the way. And Eddie goes, really? And he's like, yeah, if you want to go, I will get you out. And Eddie says, I think it's a good idea if I leave. And Steve goes, security, blah, 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 and like ushers him out. Yeah. And so they start to maybe have a little bit of an understanding.
Love that.
Possibly.
We're vibing.
And so they do go for a drink in Philly. And Steve says, do you have any questions for me? And Eddie is just vibrating with questions for Steve because all he knows is this is a very serious man who takes his job very seriously and is serious all the time. And he just wants to know things.
Very serious.
And we learn that Steve is divorced. He has a daughter, Max, who is a character in the show.
Nothing makes you more serious than being divorced.
That helps.
And
it
with
really
a daughter.
Does help.
With a daughter.
Yeah. His ex-wife's name is Nancy. Yeah. But he was adopted by his stepdad Jim and Joyce, Jim's wife, and Jim is also his boss, and he was in the military formerly. He got married. Him and Nancy got married way too young, and Eddie makes kind of a joke and goes, "Oh, did Max push you into it? Was it an accidental blah blah blah?"
Yes.
And
was it your bastard child?
Was it your bastard child? And Steve gets really serious and goes, no, we got married too young because we were at a party and our best childhood friend Barb slipped and drowned in the pool. And we were all too drunk and not paying enough attention.
My Barb?
Your Barb.
She died in the pool?
She died in the pool still.
Both
she
times.
slipped and died in the pool. And Steve is like, I never forgave myself for not being able to save her.
Bitch.
Yeah. And so he's like, that's I'm still trying to make up for it. That's why I do what I do. That's why I care about keeping people safe.
Heavy.
Like, I want to make sure that nothing like that ever happens again if I can help it.
Barb's legacy lives on.
Barb, in honor of Barb, we will save this rock star's
so
fucking
many
life.
people love Barb.
In Barb we trust. And so they're actually having a great time. They're getting drinks. They decide to go get some food. They go to a restaurant, get some food. They're talking, but they don't notice the crowd that has started to gather outside of the restaurant that they go to. And they start to, there's like a it's like one of those places, there's like a window up front, and they're talking, and then they see like a flash, and it's Paps. It's the paparazzi. They found them.
That's what we call them in the biz.
The Paps. They escape out the back, and they're running through the alley to try to get away, and a paparazzi person like steps out in front of them, and Steve punches this dude in the face, gets him on the ground, is still punching him. Eddie has to pull him off.
Damn.
Yes. It's raining, and they're running, and they're running. His thighs are
breaking
so
through,
big.
breaking through his
so
pants.
hot. And they finally stop running. They're in an alleyway, and Steve is checking. He's like, are you all right? And he's like, are you all right? And they finally start making out in the alleyway.
Oh my God. Rainy alleyway makeout. It's like every girl in the 90s dream.
After running for a little while.
And beating the shit
God.
out
of Yes. This is a 9.5 week situation is what I'm hearing. Yes.
So Steve is holding Eddie up against the brick. He has picked him up, Emily. Steve has picked Eddie up and is holding him against the brick.
I famously love the idea of being picked up and pinned against the wall.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's
cute.
so hot. I've said it, I think, on every season now.
I think you have. So they make out in the alleyway for a while, and then they finally go back. They're both staying in the same hotel. They go back to Eddie's hotel room. They like chat and have a cigarette on the back balcony. And then Eddie, because Steve's hand is damaged from punching that guy in the face a bunch of times.
So damaged.
And so Eddie starts kissing his knuckles.
Okay.
And then sucks on his finger and he says, pick me up again. And Steve does.
Oh my God,
Okay,
am I
but
Eddie? Oh my God, am I Eddie?
I guarantee you they have not washed their hands. And
No.
that's disgusting.
And you know what? Still hot.
They're into
No,
it.
that's gross.
They're
to me.
gonna
into it.
share blood.
And then they have sex, and Eddie is very subby, but also very bossy at the same time. And Steve is dommy, but he follows direction very well.
I guess I've just
we love that dynamic.
never really seen me written as a character.
I know, and he has
before.
curly hair too. And it's also his hair is brown, dark brown in this fic. If you look at any of the art,
Usually his hair is brown in the show,
but it's like really dark brown, like your shade of brown.
Continue on with this.
It's almost black in the fan art.
My hair is
You
not
are
almost black.
also in a band. And
Are
hate
you also in a
authority.
band?
I'm also.
Do you play guitar?
You hate authority.
I played guitar for 6 months and I stopped because I didn't want to keep cutting my nails.
I understand.
Also, my hands are really small and I could not do like certain chords.
Yeah, I don't have long enough fingers for guitar. And that is also when Steve just gets to know Eddie a bit more. Eddie has a red guitar pick necklace that he always wears. He just has a lot of like sentimental jewelry, that kind of thing. But they fuck and it's great. And so the next day, Steve wakes up very happy and warm and lovely and cuddling Eddie and goes back to his room to freshen up and gets a call from his dad going, why the fuck am I getting reports about you beating the shit out of a paparazzi last night. Why were you guys at dinner? Why weren't you in our secure hotel that we've already
what happened?
Checked out? And Steve really doesn't have an answer, and he's horrified at himself. He's like, this was my job to keep Eddie safe. That is what I've been asked to do, and I fucking failed at it because
he didn't.
I mean, Eddie's safe.
He's safe.
That dick was safe.
Yeah, but Steve is like, I took a lot of risks. Like I took him to two locations that we didn't clear. It could have been bad. Like, and he's like, if something happens, I couldn't forgive myself. And so he tells Eddie when they get to the next town that they can't sleep together again. And Eddie gets very upset and throws Steve out of his hotel room. And so then the next day, Steve's POV, there's like a photo shoot. So picture like a warehouse and, you know, the very stereotypical
90s photo shoot.
90s rock star photo shoot. So lots of leather pants.
Okay.
Eddie is dressed in like fishnet tights with ripped jeans so you can see the fishnet tights. Shirtless, a lot of bracelets, a lot of necklaces.
It's giving me like Axl Rose, Guns N' Roses.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the vibe we were going for. And so Steve is just doing his best to be there and not look at anything because he's very worked up about everything that Eddie is wearing. And
it's like me in an antique shop, am I right?
Hey. And so Eddie's getting his makeup done for the shoot, and the makeup artist points to the giant fucking hickey that Steve left on Eddie's neck and says, "Are we keeping this?"
Tacky.
And they point to the hickey on Eddie's. It's actually
very high school.
It's described as his throat, so I guess like the
it could
front,
be like here,
the front of the neck.
Yeah, I've had one of those before.
Okay,
I bruised like a peach.
It's
let
like
me tell you.
Yeah, it's like the front. It's the
like
throat,
right there.
So yeah, he's got a big old hickey on his throat. The makeup artist is like, "Do we want to keep this?" And Steve and Eddie like lock eyes, and Steve looks visibly panicked at the idea of them covering up the hickey that he left on Eddie.
That's his mark.
That's his mark. And Eddie says really, really quietly, "Keep it. It's hot, right?" While like holding eye contact.
No,
with
bitch.
Steve.
It looks like a bruise. Hickeys are not hot.
I love hickeys. What are you talking about?
No,
I think they're so
I
trashy.
don't like. I like them for me. I don't like them for public. Does that make sense?
I like them for me. I don't like them for public. But in this scenario,
this
love hickey is hot.
If I have a hickey, I'm so embarrassed. But
I
again,
agree with that.
I bruise like a peach.
I would be if I had a hickey. I would not want it covered up necessarily.
Oh, I try
someone
everything.
else.
I try and get the like.
I would cover it up myself, but I wouldn't want someone else. Like I would feel weird about a makeup artist like touching my hickeys. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I understand that for you, not for me, but I get what you're saying.
Thank you.
Go on.
So basically, Eddie has decided at this point to fuck with Steve once again sexually. And because he saw that he got really affected by the hickey thing.
Okay.
Eddie has these boots and he puts them on, and then to fuck with him, he points at Steve and he goes, "I want him to do these up. I want him to lace these."
Damn.
And so Steve kneels and like makes eye contact and then laces Eddie's boots for him.
While he's making eye contact?
Well,
I was going to say, that's hard.
As much as he can.
Yeah.
You can tie shoes while not looking.
I missed one.
Missed an eyelet.
And it kind of backfires on Eddie because he does like, he kind of
gets hot.
He's kind of into it. And then Eddie is doing his photo shoot thing. And he kind of falls into because he's done a million of these. He's famous enough that he's done a million photo shoots. Chrissy, his manager, is there. Everyone there has done this a million times. So even though Eddie is like, he's wearing like the low rise leather pants and is like doing the sexy rock star thing, no one gives a shit except for Steve. And Eddie realizes that Steve has never seen one of these photo shoots. It is not routine for him in any way, and he looks like he wants to eat Eddie, as just like he looks hungry, he looks intense, he's just staring at him from across the room, and so he starts
not enough facial self-awareness for me.
And so Eddie decides to keep fucking with him.
I just made faces like
3 different cartoonish faces about wanting to eat someone. Look at this bitch.
I mean, honestly, yeah, that's probably about what it was. So Eddie is continuing. Once he realizes that, he's continuing to try to fuck with Steve because he's still mad at him because he said that he didn't want to sleep with him. And Eddie's like, I want to sleep with you, so fuck you. I'm going to make you want to sleep with me. And so he like moves his collar to the side so the mark is more visible. And then the makeup artists go, you know what would be maybe really cool for like a close-up is if he had not just like the one mark. All the makeup artists put on lipstick and like put lipstick mark all over him.
Steve's pissed.
And Eddie's like, oh yes, ladies, please go ahead. Just for the art, for the photos of it all.
I'm an artist.
And then when the photographer is taking those shots and says, oh, what if we added more bites too? Steve loudly goes, no, that's enough. That's enough. Thank you, everyone. That's enough. And Eddie like shrugs and goes, I have to listen to my security.
I love that.
And Steve tries to pull Eddie away, but before he can do that, Chrissy gives both of them a very knowing look and goes, Steve, you should probably take the night off. And so they're in the car, Steve and Eddie, and Steve goes, it wasn't in the brief that anyone would be touching you, that anyone would be physically interacting with you. That's a security risk.
Okay, bitch.
And Eddie goes, not everything is in a brief. Fuck off. It's fine. They get back to, because they're in,
relax,
right? They're in New York, so Eddie has an apartment. Like he has like a home base.
Okay.
So they get back to Eddie's apartment. Eddie asks Steve if he wants to come in, and Steve does, and Eddie's just trying to act normal, even though inside he's like, yes, it worked. And he's still trying to make Steve crazy, so he's like slowly taking off the necklaces. He takes off the ripped jeans and then takes off the fishnets, and Steve tries to kind of move forward and clearly like wants to kiss him, and Eddie stops him. He's like, you can only look, and then goes and takes a shower and ignores Steve, jacks off in the shower. And then right when he comes, he hears the shower door slam open and is surprised it didn't break.
Damn.
And then Steve is kissing him. And Steve gives Eddie a blowjob and then fucks him from behind in the shower. And it's very possessive. It's very unexpected. And it's lovely and it's everything Eddie wanted. And Eddie is so, so, so happy. But then after, Steve is like, this was a mistake. We can't do this again. And leaves.
Damn, Steve.
Yeah. And Eddie is devastated.
Get it together, bruh.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's sad. And so Steve leaves Eddie's apartment and he feels like he's just like woken up from a dream. He's like, I lost my judgment. I shouldn't have done that. I was overcome with jealousy. And
I mean, it is wild to barge in while he's showering, bro.
Well, he was in the room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Eddie was like, you can't touch, but you can watch. Type thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the door to the shower,
he
not
was
the door to the
watching
bathroom.
No,
okay.
the door to the shower. He was watching in the shower.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry if I
knew
wasn't
he
clear.
was jacking off. Okay.
He knew. Oh yeah, it was a whole game that they were playing.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense than him just being
I was
like,
thinking he
you've
was
been in there a
outside of
while.
the yeah.
No, like they were there, and Eddie was like, you can't touch me. So they have a show that night. Steve is like, well, I have the night off. I'll go see the show because I've never actually seen the show.
I've never been to a concert
before. He's like, I've only
music.
ever been working and sweeping it for bombs. And so why don't I go? And so he goes, but he's really enjoying it. He's like, oh wow, like this Eddie is so magnetic. He's so charismatic. He's doing so, like, is very impressed by him. But then Eddie sees him and sees Steve watching him and gets so in his head and so upset because all he can think about is like, this man doesn't want me. This man that I want doesn't want me. And
yeah, to see your ex in the crowd.
Yeah, and all he's ever and you get some internal monologue of like on stage is where he can feel fully wanted and fully appreciated and fully immersed in the feeling of the audience. And he like gets lost in that, but then he every single time he like feels himself get lost in that, like he usually does, he sees Steve and he's reminded that nope, actually I am unwanted. This person doesn't want me, and he's all in his head. And so he afterwards goes to his dressing room, breaks a bottle, does the whole rock star thing, storms out. Chrissy's like chasing after him and he's like, Chris, I love you. I'm gonna go make some unfortunate decisions, and leaves. And Chrissy is like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do? Steve gets back to the hotel as he arrives back, Chrissy's standing in front of the hotel. She tells him what happened. She's like, Eddie's missing. You got to go find him. I guess you don't get a night off after all. And he's like, okay, got it. And so he rushes off. He finally finds Eddie in like a kink club. And Eddie is doing a scene with someone who is having very rough sex with him. And Steve knows from the rules of this club that everything is very negotiated, everything is very handled, like nothing is happening that somebody didn't have to sign a waiver for. But he can also tell from Eddie's face and from having had sex with him before and knowing kind of how he likes to be that this is bad, that Eddie is in a bad place and that he's having sex with this person to punish himself rather than actually trying to enjoy himself.
Okay.
And so he's like, this doesn't feel good, this doesn't feel right. And so he kind of he makes a rash decision and is like, I'm gonna get him out of here. He runs up to him while he's in the middle of getting fucked by this person. The guy's like, what's going on? And he's like, he has to go. And the guy's like, oh, okay. Picks up Eddie's red guitar pick necklace that had been ripped off of him, had fallen off, and basically like fireman carries Eddie out of the club. He had like taken something, and so he's out of it. Gets him into the back seat of the car. Chris and the driver Gareth, who she is in a relationship with, and it's a whole side plot. It's very cute. And they're like, we love you, Eddie, man, like it's okay, don't worry, like it's okay. And he's like, I love you guys too. And then he looks at Steve and Steve goes, I'm gonna fucking kill you, don't ever do that shit again. That was ridiculous, that was reckless and stupid, and you're better than that. And so he gets Eddie, you know, home, and it's fine. The next day it's Eddie's POV. His first thing he remembers is Chrissy giving him his guitar pick necklace back and going, I wasn't the one that picked this up. And then holding meaningful eye contact with him.
This?
Just, maybe the man you're clearly in love with. And so they are mid-show at Madison Square Garden, because that's why they're in New York in the first place, obviously. And Eddie is doing it up and like having a lovely time, MSG, and sees Steve off stage. And Steve is like on his knees holding his head. And Eddie is like, what's going on? Runs off stage mid-show.
Oh, I want my money back, bitch.
I know. And
he did have a show. It's better than no show.
And it turns out Steve is having a really bad migraine.
Aww.
So Eddie cuts
at a concert.
At a concert.
God.
And Steve is like, don't worry about me. It's my job to be here. It's my job to protect you. It's fine. But he also cannot stand up. And so Eddie goes, we're ending the show early. I'm gonna take care of you, which to me is romantic but ridiculous.
No,
yes.
I would
no,
honestly,
go home.
That's not.
Hey,
romantic.
can someone take him home?
Hey,
I'm a big rock star.
Can someone take Steve home? I will see you after.
Yes, let me finish my set.
Not party tonight would be romantic.
We have 3 songs and a fireworks show. Let me get to that, then I'll come to you.
You disappointing 700 people or however many
at the MSG.
At
the MSG.
At the MSG.
That's what people in New York probably call it.
The MSG.
Actually, they do.
Do they actually?
Yeah, MSG is a
the Mad Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, Mad Square Garden.
That's what we in the biz
I'm gonna text my 2 friends that live in. I have 3 friends that live in New York. Sorry, but I'm only gonna text 2.
Only text 2 of them.
Say my friend's having a show at MSG. Where's that?
Okay, I'm gonna text them.
They're gonna know. I call it MSG.
I want to know.
Keep
I'm going to continue.
Well, you have to use it in context. You can't be like, I'm eating MSG.
No,
you gotta say
at MSG.
Yeah, if you're using it as a place.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
Okay, so Eddie goes, I have event insurance, whatever, cuts the show short, gets Steve back.
Eddie is reckless.
And we love him for it. And the crowd is pissed, but he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, he's never heard about responsibility.
Nope, not at all. Gets Steve into a bath and tells Steve he has to
oh, hold on. LOL, Madison Square Garden, silly. Okay, so I was right.
Of course.
Okay.
Y'all are wild.
Sorry to interrupt.
You're fine. I'm trying to find my place. So Steve wakes up. He like gets home, passes out immediately because his head hurts. Eddie is there taking care of him. Gets into a bath. Steve is like, no, don't take care of me. Don't take care of me. And he's like, okay, I'll stop taking care of you. And she goes, no, it's fine. Stay here. Actually take care of me. And Eddie goes, well, you have to ask me nicely. to take care of
Also,
you.
I ain't playing your fucking games when I got a migraine, bitch.
Yeah. And Steve does. Steve says,
plays.
will you please stay and take care of me?
Nice.
Which is very validating for Eddie.
Yeah.
Especially after the I can't have sex with you thing. And so Eddie like grins and they like gets on the bed and they spend a lovely weekend together having sex and kissing and biting each other, and it's quite lovely. I know. Very, very cute. And so, but Steve is spiraling because he still wants to do a good job, and he really doesn't think that he can do a good job while also fucking Eddie. He's very conflicted about the whole thing. And he talks to his dad, and the press is going crazy because photos of the two of them at that dinner have been circulated, and they keep being seen with each other. There's photos of Eddie getting Steve out of Madison Square Garden, MSG as the locals call it. And
the TMZs outside of the MSG asking
TMZ with the T.
Thank you to Callie Short for telling me that it is in fact referred to as the MSG.
Thank you, Callie.
Thanks, Callie.
We like Callie.
We love Callie.
And so Eddie starts writing a new song. It's about true love and also Steve. And
also Steve.
And Steve is just reaching a point where he's like, I can't do this. And Eddie wakes up one morning, Steve's not there. And he doesn't think anything of it. He's like, this motherfucker wakes up early and goes and works out. It's fine. But then they're like leaving. They're going to the next stop on the tour, and he's still not there. And he goes to Chrissy and goes, where's Steve? And Chrissy goes, he quit. Eddie, he quit. He signed a resignation letter. Like he's going home. We've got a new replacement in the works. And Eddie's like, fuck no, I'm going to the airport. And so Chrissy's like, you can't go to the airport. We have a place to go. And Eddie goes, don't you know me by now? And he like gets in a car and starts going to the airport.
He just holds up like the punk rock.
Yes, he does the rock and roll fingers. And he buys like a fucking as the cheapest plane ticket he can find to get through security, and finds Steve at his gate. And he's like, why are you leaving? And Steve says, you should know why. I took a day off and look what happened to you. I disrupted your show. You ended a show early because I had a migraine. I punched a photographer. I cut off a photo shoot.
I read TMZ. Popping off.
Yeah, I did too much. I am not being a good bodyguard to you. Someone else needs to take care of you. If I keep fucking up, you could truly be in danger. I couldn't live with myself. I gotta go. And Eddie kind of finally understands and is like, okay, this isn't a fucking around moment. This is actually a serious moment. Mm-hmm. And just says, I'm sorry. And they kiss. And Steve says, try not to make the next guy work too hard, okay? On the mouth. At the gate.
Hand, on the knee.
And then Eddie's new security is Steve's dad, Jim.
Just as hot as Steve.
Just as hot in different ways. Loves the actor who plays Jim. What's his name? David Harbour.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hopper.
He's so
Jim's last name.
He's so in love with his wife, and it's
Lily Allen.
Yeah. Which who wouldn't be?
She's
and
great.
It's amazing. Anyway, so Jim is also very serious, but they are wherever they are on tour at this point is where Jim lives. I think it's implied that they all live in LA. And so Eddie starts to get to know Steve's family through Jim because Joyce like shows up and that kind of thing, and he learns more about Steve too. And we cut to like Steve and Jim at home with Joyce making dinner, and Jim is like, you do really love Eddie, right? Like you wouldn't have done all that dumb shit if you didn't care about this person. And Steve kind of just laughs and drinks his beer and he goes, yeah, he's kind of a little shit though. And Jim goes, yeah, but still. And the next day he's going to pick up his daughter Max, Steve is, and he sees that Jim has already gotten her and Eddie is with him because Jim has basically gone, you have to be with me at all times because I can't fucking trust you. And Max is a huge fan of whatever the fuck Eddie is called, or if it's a band or whatever. And she's like, can he come to dinner? It would be really cool if I could show him like my guitar. And so Eddie comes to dinner with the Hoppers, and it's kind of awkward, but Steve is like, it's nice that he's getting along with my daughter. Like he's not being a shithead. That's really great. He's not fucking with anybody. I love that. They have a lovely quiet night. They eat dinner. Steve walks Eddie out. They make like awkward small talk, Eddie is like, we should be kissing, but then they shake hands goodbye.
Professional.
And then the next day, or not the next day, but a couple weeks later, they get a package with a way too expensive guitar for Max.
Aw, cute.
And 2 VIP tickets to the last show on the tour.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I mean, there's 3 people in the house, but whatever.
Well, I mean, they'll be there. Jim will be there already.
Joyce doesn't want to go.
Joyce doesn't want to go.
She
Joyce
has
is busy.
a night at home to herself. Let her have a night.
Not the point.
And the letter from Eddie that comes with the tickets is addressed to Steve, and it says, "Goodbye, I guess. Again, aren't you sick of saying goodbye? I feel like we keep doing it wrong. Do you want to try it one last time? Maybe this time we'll get it right. Come to my show if you want to. Okay, bye.
But only if you want to.
Only if you want to.
No pressure.
No
pressure if not."
And Hopper, the next day, while Eddie is finishing his new song that he's writing, goes up to him and asks if he invited Steve and Max to the show. And Eddie says, "Yeah, I did." And
only Steve and Max.
Only them, not your wife. And Hopper's like, "Well, they are coming. And I just want to let you know they're coming. And it means a lot that you did that." And Eddie is so nervous at the show, but he sees that Steve and Max show up, and Steve lets Max dress him up for the show.
Cute.
So they're both in their
fishnets
and like rock clothes, at least as much as Max thinks that they're rock clothes, and Eddie thinks it's the cutest thing he's ever seen. And they're like in the VIP section, which is like off to the side of the stage, if you've ever seen one like that, where it's kind of like in the wings almost. And so for the encore, Eddie sings his new song, which is a love song that's
Even
clearly
flow.
about Steve. Even flow, clearly.
Obsessed.
And after he's done with it, Steve walks out on stage in the middle of the LA show, which, imagine if you saw that.
Insane.
Be like, this person should be removed immediately.
Security.
Also, I'm sorry, is Max just standing in the VIP section
just
by herself?
standing there.
Your small daughter in a... Sorry, go on.
It's fine.
How old is Max? Yeah.
Oh, I forgot a really cute thing. So when Hopper tells Eddie, "Yep, Steve and Max are coming," Eddie says, "Can we double security on the venue for that night just so that Steve feels safe and feels okay? Because I know he's going to notice if security is lax." And Jim smiles and goes, "Yeah, buddy. Yeah, we could do that." Aww. So Steve feels okay. It's very cute. So Steve walks out on stage, grabs Eddie's hand.
Obviously, they didn't double security.
He goes,
he is security.
I am security.
He goes, "I like your song," and then he kisses him on stage, and the crowd goes wild.
I would have booed seeing the love of my life kiss somebody.
And then
I want to go.
Hopper quietly gets Max home while Steve and Eddie go back to the hotel room and bang so much. There is if you read this fic, chapter 15 is all sex. I repeat, chapter 15 is where all the sex, there's a lot of sex in this fic, but chapter 15 is all sex. And then in the epilogue, they live happily ever after.
Aw, I love that.
It's just a lovely snapshot of their lives, and it's really cute. And Eddie still fucks with Steve, but it's like in a fun, loving way. Yeah. So that's that fic. And my game is not even really a game. It's just a question. If you were trying to like give somebody the slip in the city of Chicago, where would you go to hide out from them?
I mean, honestly, it depends on where I am, obviously.
Yeah.
But I would just slip into any old like antique shop, because typically they are packed to the walls with things, and I don't think people would go in there. They'd expect me to walk into a dive bar, but not me. But I feel like there's like underground pedways, Union Station. I would just hop into a red line and
I would just take an Uber.
Yeah.
I think I would go somewhere in Logan Square.
Assume someone is in hot pursuit of you, but you're in your like ideal neighborhood for this, and you have to slip into a place.
Well, I was going to say, if I'm just like in Chicago, I feel like this person would know, like, I primarily stick to the north side. I know my way around the loop. I've lived and worked over there. So I would go west. I would go like Wicker or Logan, and I'd go to a bar there because I don't think someone would expect me to go there first.
Fair. I would go to the Harold Washington Library.
Nice.
Because if I'm going to have to be stuck somewhere for several hours, like waiting for someone to finish or like just confusing someone, I would want to be able to like do something that I
think someone would like would look in like booky areas.
Yeah, but to be fair, Harold Washington
is huge.
It's such a big library that I would feel like I could get away.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I'll take that too.
Yeah,
I'll take your answer.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay, rate us. Rate us, bitch.
Give us some raccoons.
I have pre-planned my ratings.
You son of a bee
Not
sting.
prior to hearing the story, but like
you had thoughts.
But like I was at least prepared. Normally you ask me this and I'm like, I have to think about
appreciate
it.
you
Before
being
this
prepared.
even started, you're like, Emily's getting 4.
No. As the stories were going, I
Gotcha.
was like thinking about the
I love
raccoons
that.
building into the trash can.
Into
Whereas
it.
normally this is a surprising question, even though I know how the show works. So I'm giving, shockingly, 5 out of 5. Which I don't
For me?
Yeah. Yours got a, I was immersed. I
Shockingly.
hate it. No, just because
it's
not about you.
It's always about me.
I'm not shocked at all because it was a rom-com-y thing, and you like a fluff.
Yeah, I like a fluff. It's whimsical. I relate. I feel like I know the Whitney. I know these people.
Yes.
Like I fucking have dealt with these people.
Yeah.
I hate them.
It was fun.
But it's high school. You know what I mean? Like I know those people.
And you love to hear someone's high school drama that's not your own.
Yeah, it's giving hot tea. I want to know.
Giving normal gossip.
And it gave me it gave me believable. I'm giving yours 3 out of 5.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with y'all. I need you to be really
Again,
like,
it's always about me.
I'm not mad at you.
The storytelling, incredible. You do a
Thanks.
great job at it. It's just more like there's parts of it. First, I didn't feel the whole enemy trope. I just feel like he was like, you got the like OCD guy, like who I like structure and then I don't. To me, I'm like, yeah, you don't have as much. Obviously, I don't know their backstory.
It's fucking with the opposite is what it was, which so it definitely fulfilled that trope, that fulfillment.
Yes, I don't think it didn't fit the world. Like I think it's I would have selected it too. I like it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the story, but for what I was going for, where it's like, nah, I'm gonna like. To me, this one yours felt more heisty, Emily, versus like because it was like, oh, we're gonna
We have a plan.
There was a shenanigan.
There's a shenanigan. But then the love just slips in. Whereas yours is like, these are just boys who don't really communicate well and they just wanted to fuck, and that's okay. Yeah. And I don't think that's bad, but I also think it's just like, yeah, opposites do be attracting. I don't think it was a bad story. I just also am like, I think the heist of it all was really where I was at. So I'm giving 3 out of 5, 5 out of 5. Whereas last time I feel like it was switched.
I think it was.
It was
switched. Yeah.
Nice.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Okay, so ratings done.
Done.
Next thing on the checklist. What do you want to do next week?
Yeah, what are you feeling? What are you feeling for next
aggressive.
week?
What do you want?
What do you want from us?
Well, since you've talked about it, I want mafia porn.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I've been thinking about. It's all I've been thinking about.
Mafia. Emily has been waiting for this moment.
I am too.
So many ideas.
I've never seen a person's face light up so much for something I've literally never heard of. You know what I mean?
You're gonna
her
hate
niche.
this. Oh, I
it's
can't
her
wait.
niche.
You're gonna hate
It's
this.
dark and twisted.
I
It's
wanna
very
hate
dark.
it.
Can I include Peaky Blinders as mafia? Because it's a slightly different thing.
I would love. Well,
But
I
like,
mean, it's a gang.
a gang, like an organized crime type
Mafia,
thing,
and
right?
organized-
Organized crime is mafia is gang. That is, they are all synonymous.
As long
I
as
would
I'm not
say.
cheating by doing maybe one of those, because there are some good Peaky Blinders fanfics that.
No,
did come
I know.
to
I
mind.
know you don't like to lean into it. I would love for you to lean into it this time.
And I want y'all to lean into having fun. I don't care how you normally do the show. I want y'all to enjoy your reading.
I mean, no.
It's
Well,
homework,
yeah, we
you
do.
know?
We love reading.
We love
Yeah,
it.
but I
Oh my
want you to
God.
like it. I
Fuck
don't want it
yeah.
to feel like a chore.
It's been 3 seasons. I finally get to do mafia.
I know. I've been truly waiting since we started this because I
never
feel
wanna
like
push
mentions
it.
it a lot and no one has ever
I
picked
just
it.
read mafia.
She's been
and
dropping
bullies.
hints for 2 years and finally here we are.
Wow.
Oh man,
Next-
Emily,
Oh no.
what are you reading?
I am reading 50 Shades of Grey.
So am I.
We are reading it. Yes, this
We're
episode
both
is coming
reading
out
it.
later, but we are both reading it
Have
for
you read it before?
Yeah, many times.
Okay.
I've never read it.
Okay.
and I hate it.
I have read it a few times,
hate
and I'm not like, the book is the book. I know it's ridiculous and it's crazy. I love the movie franchise.
Noted.
50 Shades of Grey. It is one of my favorite things to watch with my friends.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, it started
right?
as a
It's like
fanfic,
based
and
off
they
Twilight.
really
Yeah.
did not clean it up when they published it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've never read it before, and I mean, we can say this. This is going to drop after
Yes.
this episode is out. We're reading them for a live show that we're doing for a Twilight-themed
Nice.
festival.
So we're doing the most famous fan fiction to come from it, 'Fifty
50 Shades of Grey. But yeah, I've never read it before, and I am not a fan, and it is taking a lot of effort.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm reading, and I guess that's what Jess is
I'm
reading.
reading too. That and still a lot of Saltburn fan fiction. I cannot overstate, because Saltburn dropped on Amazon Prime streaming.
Yeah.
And so now all the writers
Everyone's
can
freaking
watch
out.
it as much as they want. So if they want to write a long ass fan fiction and they don't quite remember what
They can
that
go
scene
back.
was. Yeah. And so it is just that fandom is blowing
flooded.
up, and I'm still following it, and I'm having a great time.
Nice.
Hey Julie.
I'm seeing that in real time.
What are you reading?
I have been waiting for this question, and I'm normally not like that into books. Like the last couple times, I'm like, this is playing while I go to sleep. This is the first time in a while I have been sucked into a book. Like stayed up until 6 a.m. last night.
Love that feeling.
shit.
Literally stayed up till 6 a.m. For some reason, I convinced myself I needed to read it for y'all, even though that's not the case. But
Well,
I just
you.
wanted to be able to, but I still have like 50 pages left. But I finally got it on Hoopla. I ordered it. I finally found it. It's called I Who Have Never Known Men.
I Who Have Never Known Man. Okay.
It got popular on TikTok. It's by Jacqueline Jacqueline Hartman.
Okay.
I was going to call her Harper. It's Jacqueline Hartman. It's fairly new, 2022. It went viral on TikTok. Like all these girlies were talking about it. When I tell you, all of the girls who recommended it straight to prison, because I bawled so hard, and I'm not even done with it. I'm just a crybaby about it because it's so fucking moving. So I won't spoil it.
Oh.
I won't spoil it.
Okay.
But I'll give you the premise.
Okay.
This girl, she grows up in a bunker with 40 women. She's the only child. So she's the only one who has never known the outside world.
Wow.
Okay.
One day, no, I'm not gonna. That's too spoiler. I don't want to.
Some shit happens.
Some shit pops off, and basically,
I'm assuming they're not in the bunker the whole time.
they're halfway through, a siren goes off.
Got it.
And
They're free to go out.
One of the guards leaves a key or whatever, and they get to escape. So now they're outside of the bunker. They don't know where. They don't know what's happening. They have all these questions, these fears.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, these women are getting older and frailer and dying off. So they're like, there's 40 of them. And then this young girl who has grown up, now she's in her 20s, and then into her, it's following her journey through trying to figure it out. And you're figuring it out with her because she doesn't know anything. She just has
don't know
language.
anything.
But she talks about it like as if she's telling a story, but then she'll talk about it in real time. It's just really well written. Mm-hmm. It's very immersive. It's the first, like last night I stayed up until literally 6 a.m. No joke. I looked at my clock and I was like, oh my God, I have to go to bed. And
what a good feeling that is, though.
It was good. It was the first one in a while. It was could not tout it enough. Highly recommend. But I got it for Hoopla, from Hoopla for free.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Look at you. I love a book that gives you a response like that.
Yeah, and I've never read a book on my phone, never been able to. Can't do it. And this one it was the only way to access it, and I'm like, I'm in the bitch.
Good for you.
I love her.
Love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
We had a lovely episode.
We really did.
Join us next week for next week's episode.
Mafia.
Which is
Mafia.
The Mafia. Oh, I'm going to get my dad to listen to this one.
Don't.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
It's going to be weird.
I have a whole backstory with Mafia stuff. I cannot wait for you to hear about it.
Emily's family is in the mob, basically.
We are not. FRF does not condone. No, we are not. I'll put that out there. We're going to cut all that out. All right. Join us for Mafia next week. Love you.
Love you.
We're raccoons in the best trash in town. Bye.
Bye.
Femmes Reading Filth is hosted, produced, and edited by Emily Barusian and Jessica Mall. Intro music by Tom Lehrer. Outro music by David Reddick. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Femmes Reading Filth. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.